It is the imposition of foreign rule. The order of colonization is to exploit and dominate. It is also to be subjugated, exploited, and dehumanized. Now let's look at Africa before the white man. Before the white man, Africans had tribal and cultural consciousness, which is unwillingness to accept or even opposition to measures intended to break down physical and psychological tribal barriers and to integrate them into national whole. I mean, to build our cultures in an active and creative way. We had named our cities and kingdoms, e.g. we had the Mali Empire, Songhai Empire, Kanin Borno Empire, Benin Kingdom, Yoruba Kingdom, Binyaro Kitara Kingdom. Now the only thing we want to colonize, destroy, break a person, race, culture is because we feel threatened by their sensitivity, intelligence, and enlightenment. And let's look at Africa again. Africa, cradle of mankind and civilization. Africa is the birthplace of mankind. It gave the world a human race. Human history began in Africa and spread around the earth. From the study of fossils in the 18th century to the works of Charles Darwin from 1859 to 1871 shows human activities began in Africa. The discoveries of the Stone Age Africa, Paleolithic Africa, led the world in man's early development. Secondly, education. Let's look at our educational system before the white man. Before colonizations, Africans were educated. We had an educational system, values, and made contributions to the world of ideas and thoughts, which went beyond production, laws, and social systems. African education enriched world civilization, e.g., a great philosopher of the world called Plotinus wrote philosophy, contributing immensely to ideas. He was an Egyptian and African. Secondly was the first woman philosopher, Hypatia. She was from Alexandria. Alexandria was the first university in the world and it was found in Egypt. The likes of Herodotus, Socrates, Anaxagoras, Plato, and Aristotle studied in Egypt and were taught by Egyptian philosophers. Are we not taught Socrates was the first man to say, "Man, know thyself"? Yet this was the expression found commonly inscribed on Egyptian temple. Now let's look at science before white man. Africans made drugs out of plants, innovate chemical, process and preserve, and embalm the bodies of the dead for prolonged periods. They did that with their artifact, that's in the pyramid. Africans also evolved and refined the use of numerals, writing which started in Egypt, calendar, astronomy and astrology, the institutions of the week and division of the day. Now let's look at agriculture. Before colonizations, Africans cultivate their fields, mind and ideas. This led to peoples of produce surpluses, the sustain and leisure class of thinkers and innovators, e.g. irrigation system of the Egypt. Now archaeology before the white man. Africans built cities and concentrated on innovative and creative ideas and talents in refining the functions of the city and enabling the city to demonstrate how man, by his creative genius, can make life better and more beneficial. E.g. Pyramid of Egypt, the Mali Pyramid Empire, and there was a better system of settlement, agriculture and social organization, inventions by Africa before the white man. The indigenous black African culture and civilization, for which some evidence is available for about the 4th till the 19th century, shows some progress was made, having significant inventions like the compass, gunpowder, cannon, structures like the pyramid of natural resources and artifacts. Africa had a list natural resources like Nok, terracotta, ceramics, Igbo bronze, bead and textile, Kumasi, the carving scarf. Now Africans were producers, not just consumers. E.g., we could take gold and refine and process it into finished product like bracelet, ring, necklace, crown, etc. And then we had our own clothes like Ashobi, Kaftan before the white man. In 1472, first emperor, Roy visited Benin. There was bilateral culture, economic and political exchange between Portugal and Benin. Now, in conclusion, the white man is still living on the productivity of Africa, as said and I quote by Belton Babbitt in his book. That
Time up.
An opportunity.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Governor of Niger State,
Yes.
you may go. Thank you.
Very much.
Yes.
Still the same one.
Yes, same book.
Okay.
Yes.
My name is Ali Bodi from Lagos State.
Okay.
From Lagos State.
Yes.
Now you have 5 minutes. 4th minute, I'll show you so that the last minute you quickly round up. Your time starts now.
Okay. Without colonization, most African countries would have become superpowers. Let's ask this question. Is colonization good? Maybe yes. But for this discourse, it's a definitely no. A powerful nation is a developed nation. A developed nation is a civilized nation. A civilized nation entails these things: a settlement and socialization pattern, a structured political sovereignty and mobilizing military, culture and religion, a thriving economy, and all ramifications of learning. The great works of Charles Darwin, 1859 to 1871, entails in his particularly African work, and the epoch-making discoveries of Dr. Louis Berkeley et al. In 1959 comes to the fact that Africa is the birthplace of mankind. Also, the presence and high intensity of sun also attests to the theory that plants started growth in Africa till it spread to the world. Human beings too. The Nile Basin and Tigris Euphrates Valley are two early sources of civilizations. Others that came were Zulu Kingdom of Shaka, the Mali Empire, the Songhai Empire, the Kano Olu, the Benin Kingdom, the Yoruba Kingdom. Let's just leave all the kingdoms. All these were highly civilized, even before colonization. All have attributes of civilization because civilization is time-bound. Ancient Black Egypt was far more advanced, using irrigation system in agriculture. They calculated and read stars with astrology, and they extracted drugs from plants to cure ailments. The pyramids till today is still an archaeological mystery in which Egyptian mummies were embalmed for thousands of years. This is pure science and technology. Development of mind is paramount in all African cultures, and moral consciousness is of great priority. Nelson Mandela asserts that education is the most powerful weapon in which you can use to change the world. End of quote. Formal education began in Egypt, in Alexandria, which was the first university in the world. Great Greek philosophers like Plato, Socrates, Aristotle were all taught by Egyptian teachers. This existing civilization must have made Europe jealous, panic, or perhaps the fear of world domination by black civilization gave rise to Western ideology of slavery and colonization. That's just a thought. Aristotle, along with Alexander the Great, conquered and plundered Egypt. All learning materials were stolen. Well, there's nothing we can learn from since education is taken. Europe needed labor to produce large industrial farm produce, so they started international slavery. The success of black enslavement led to colonization policy, where Africa was partitioned among European superpowers at the 1884 Berlin Conference. Now let's give a definition of colonization. Colonization can be referred to as deliberate and systematic practice of imposing Western culture into another so as to totally subjugate, control, and culturally exploit it for selfish and profitable purposes. Really. Let us hypothetically run through the different ideologies they used. They started with history. They started by erasing the origin of Africans, and they distorted our history so that we don't know the source of where we come from. We don't know whether we have black inventors, so we are confused. So we don't aspire to do great things. They used political ideology, which was used to divide and conquer African kingdoms into different empires. We were forcefully merged into single nations. Thus, created tribalism, nepotism, and rulership. And most of us just don't understand what we want because different tribes aspire for different things. Economic ideology of capitalism was introduced to encourage slave trade. This was done to kill morality in Africans, who began to see themselves as mere commodities. We started to sell ourselves. Literacy ideology in form of education only allowed Africans to read, write, and also do little sums. Let's go to religious ideology, which makes Africans believe that they are cursed and they need forgiveness from God. Slavery was our punishment, that's what they told us. Religion also made Africans lazy with hope, faith, and belief, and almsgiving, that almsgiving will make them rich. And if you ask our leaders, anything that happens, they will tell you, let's pray to God first, without facing the problem. In conclusion, development of African nation into a superpower was not just physically altered by colonization, it was psychologically damaged by a dehumanizing slavery system, which has made Africa unable to properly direct itself for progress. It is said that the root of the problem usually contains the solution to the problem. Africa must re-engineer herself psychologically to become free from mental slavery. African nations already have every attributes of supernation. Colonization has stopped us. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Governor of Lagos State, you take your leave. Thank you very much. Yes.
Thank you, sir.
All right. I think we might make some calls. It's 2 o'clock. My phone has been off for 3 hours.
Oh, you put on your
Yes. No, that's what I have to put it.
You suggest we take a break?
No, just some 5 minutes. I have to coordinate some calls right now. No, I've already told them. Just some.
Let's take a break then.
Yes. Just some few minutes, yes.
That pencil and pen and paper for sponsorship to say if you really, really want Nigeria to do well, this is a program you should sponsor. You should sponsor the labor room. If you want youths to get angry one day and take you out of your very nice Jeep, don't sponsor it, because this is something that will bring positive reinforcement for us in the country, and we want your checkbook. Thank you.
The Labor Room Reality TV Show. The Labor Room Reality TV Show.
Hello, my name is Shimita Bello. A long time ago, I used to do a program on NTA called African Pot. It took me all over the country. But today, I've seen 37 young people from all over the country trying to make a difference. I had a lot of sponsors, and I'm only speaking to all of you who signed that pencil and pen and paper for sponsorship to say if you really, really want Nigeria to do well, this is a program you should sponsor. You should sponsor the labor room. If you want youths to get angry one day and take you out of your very nice Jeep, don't sponsor it, because this is something that will bring positive reinforcement for us in the country, and we want your checkbook. Thank you.
The Labor Room Reality TV Show. The Labor Room Reality TV Show. The Labor Room Reality TV Show.
I see great hope in these youths, in these governors here. I see people who are ready and able to make a difference in Nigeria. In fact, some of them were sharing experiences of how disappointed they were because they couldn't even get through to their state governors, to their representatives at the assembly, with brilliant ideas that they had. Ideas that could create jobs for youths like them. You know, I mean, these are people who already have ideas. And if we give them the chance, I'm glad they have the chance already. I wouldn't use the word give them the chance. I'm glad they have this exposure. And with this chance they are given, you know, with this opportunity, I can assure you that their lives will never be the same. The states where they come from will never be the same, because they are going to make a big change. Human trafficking is very evil. A lot of people are being trafficked both internally and externally. If you see something, please say something. There are lots of young girls who are used as domestic slaves. They are not meant to be working as slaves. They are meant to be in schools. If you see anything like that, please report to NAPTIP. It's good to engage with the labor room. It has been a very exciting one for me. I was so blessed. I learned a lot from the governors in the house. I can assure you that this experience is something that I would remember for a long time. Please partner with the labor room. It's a project worth partnering with. Thank you very much.
37 intelligent Nigerian youths will lead over 200 million viewers into the labor room. For 60 days in one mansion, they must pay the price to deliver to the world a brand new super nation. The Labor Room Reality TV Show. The Labor Room Reality TV Show.
I see great hope in these youths, in these governors.
My name is Fela Drote, and I have just experienced the most amazing group of 37 visionary young leaders in this country who have given me a hope. And I am excited about the possibilities of who they will become, but more importantly, what they will do for this nation. I was extremely excited, but nothing prepared me for the quality of people that I met in the labor room when I finally arrived. The passion in their eyes, the the hope in their heart. They take Nigeria seriously. They're not young people that are just looking to grab power. They are people who want to do what they can to salvage this nation, not just so that they would live in a better nation, which they deserve to, but so that they will be able to give their children the kind of nation that God has really created Nigeria to be, the most desirable nation. So in seeing those people, like, my heart leaps with joy, and I will sleep well tonight, knowing fully well that I am in a nation where there are emerging leaders, like the guys the governors, the labor room governors that I met today, who will probably go back and do great things. So I think that the thing that needs to be done immediately after this is that whether they win or they get evicted or not is not, I think that we have started something, and we have rekindled something in their hearts. It's now how to get them to go back and begin to build structure by which they can learn how to impact their communities effectively. And then we must find other ways to connect them with other platforms that also recognize their potential and will help to maximize those potential by mentoring them. So we need to get them mentors. When they leave here, they must not go back to themselves. They must go back in the hands of mentors. They must have projects, impact projects, that will be scalable, that will have the capacity to be able to grow. So that by this time next year, when we are selling labor room to a people to say, hey, this is what we've been able to do, you can go back and look at the people who are on labor room and see the great impact that they've made. And that then encourages other people to want to be a part of this. So I'm very excited about it.
My name is Jawolusi Oluwaseun Solomon, the Labour Room Governor of Ekiti State.
Ekiti State. Okay, so you have 5 minutes. On the 4th minute, I will show you your timer so that in the last minute, you will round up. Your time starts now.
So I quote, if Africa will rise up again from being part of the third world nations to a fully developed one, her nations must move on to face the reality rather than playing the recurring blame game on their colonial masters, even decades after gaining independence. Before me today is a popular discourse that without colonization, most African countries would have become a superpower nation. The basis of my argument is false, and I will be backing up my point with certain underlying facts for the next few minutes. To start with, I would like to define what colonization really depicts. Colonization is an act by which a superior nation conquers another nation and declares a protectorate over the territory or region for the purpose of inhibiting certain properties of theirs into the subjects. And also, I would like to clearly define and explain what it means for a nation to be a superpower nation. A nation can be referred to as superpower with respect to a high human development index and high economic development index, and also how effective the national ideology of the nation is. Not only that, there's a distinct difference between a nation and a country. A nation is a well-developed group of ethnic nationalities peacefully coexisting together with a common background, common identity, common destiny in the pursuit of a prosperity of their nation and also rightly maximizing their wealth, even distributing it to have a much more prosperous nation. Also, at this point, several nations of the world were once under the colonial rule. Several nations, several developed nations. And South Korea, Nigeria, South Africa, Ethiopia. I'll be using these nations for my comparative analysis. South Korea gained independence from the Japanese rule in 1945. A few years after 1950 to 1953, experienced the Civil War that destroyed all the autonomy that had been received after the independence. But these challenges of war did not hold them back. They moved on. Knowing fully well that South Korea does not even have mineral resources, natural resources as most African nations are, but they maximize the potential in their human resource capacity to blaze a trail for a sustainable economic development. Also, South Africa had the highest experience of colonial rule in Africa. Today, South Africa is one of the most developed nations in Africa with respect to their infrastructural development in terms of education. That's why you see most African nations trooping into South Africa to learn more. Now, Ethiopia is one of the African countries that never had colonial experience. Yet, we cannot refer to Ethiopia as a superpower nation today. So, also Nigeria, once under the colonial rule, gained independence in 1960, experienced civil war 1967 to 1970. But today, Nigeria had a similar experience with that of South Korea. But today, still backward. Now, at this point, I need to clearly state that colonialism does not affect the development of any nation. Rather, the people need mental restructuring and they need to maximize the strength of their diversity. Also, the examples of the Asian tigers tells us an alternative path to development. A central government guiding the economy through distinct stages of development until it reaches full industrialization. That is what is lacking in most African nations. Why? We don't know where we are going to. Most African nations, we don't even know where we are going to in the next 5 years. No clearly defined economic policy. Thank God for this green century code we are developing here to guide Nigeria for the next 100 years. This is what is needed in most African nations, but lacking for the past 50 years. And then we have something like this in the past few years.
Time up.
Okay.
Time up.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank
All right.
you.
Yes. Governor of Ekiti State, you may go.
Thank
All
you.
right. Thank you. Yes. I was trying to ask that. Is that we've been on generator since? Okay, the electric lights. Yes. So, Ekiti.
Same old.
Ekiti, same old, but
Same old.
he made,
He put it together.
yeah, he put his work together.
If he had more time to rehearse, I'm sure he would have been more.
There's some points he would have excluded and just hit. That's the point.
The address.
Okay. Lydia will say to office. The street. Disclose. What more disclose?
The name of this street.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My name is Fela Drote, and I have just experienced the most amazing group of 37 visionary young leaders in this country who have given me a hope. And I am excited about the possibilities of who they will become, but more importantly, what they will do for this nation. I was extremely excited, but nothing prepared me for the quality of people that I met in the labor room when I finally arrived. The passion in their eyes, the hope in their heart. They take Nigeria seriously. They're not young people that are just looking to grab power. They are people who want to do what they can to salvage this nation, not just so that they would live in a better nation, which they deserve to, but so that they will be able to give their children the kind of nation that God has really created Nigeria to be, the most desirable nation. So in seeing those people, like, my heart leaps with joy, and I will sleep well tonight, knowing fully well that I am in a nation where there are emerging leaders, like the guys that the governors, the labor room governors that I met today, who will probably go back and do great things. So I think that the thing that needs to be done immediately after this is that whether they win or they get evicted or not is not, I think that we have started something and we have rekindled something in their hearts. It's now how to get them to go back and begin to build structure by which they can learn how to impact their communities effectively. And then we must find other ways to connect them with other platforms that also recognize their potential and will help to maximize those potential by. So we need to get them mentors. They must not go back.
Good morning. Which state? Taraba State. Now you have 5 minutes. On the 4th minute, I'll show you so that your last minute, you quickly round up. Your time starts now.
Okay. Yeah.
Without colonization, Africa, most African countries, will be superpowers. And I stand to say two. I'm giving you 2 points about this. The psychological aspect and the post-colonial disillusionment. And under the post-colonial disillusionment, we have the modernization and the westernization. Africa, according to Dr. Carl Johnson, is associated to the ancient Egypt. And ancient Egypt is black by default. That is to tell you that from the storyline down, like, Africa has always been a superpower. Colonization can be defined as the direct and indirect rule of foreign lands for gain. Civilization can be building on the existing processes of the land. Superpower can be now defined as a country that has strong policies and major and strong human development capital index. Back to the story. Africans or Egyptians, from the times of Aristotle and the Socrates, which were schooled in Egypt with the first university, the Alexandria universities, and we were mentored by Plato, the first or one of the ancient Egyptians who mentored them, which they came and then stole his, used the Alexander the Great to steal his work, and then there is always a way to clean up the history of the black man, because if a man doesn't know where he's coming from, he will not know where he's going to. There was a time in the 17th to 12th century when a man named William Lynch found out a way to work on the system of the psychology of the black man, trying to cut him short from the understanding of where he's coming from, because definitely there must be a vacuum to be filled by an understanding that you know not of, trying to kill the generation that was before them, and then trying to make the new offspring of the black man away from the parents, so that whatever it is they feel on the child is what the child will stand to understand as his own history. That was the psychological aspect of the definition of defeating the black race. Now, looking
automatically must define westernization. They mistake westernization with development. And in that aspect on its own, when the definition is not clear, you start to accept whatever it is the country gives you. To believe that's the level of understanding, not knowing the source of the strength. If an African country will be a superpower, I am telling you there must be another word that would define or limit superpower to be another level of third world nation. Before they give you something, they have attained a certain level before they receive a level. They always call us a third world country. Why? Because they believe there is what they call first. If they allow us to be superpower, I am telling you, expect another word that will override superpower. This and many more. When I come to the aspect of modernization, everything that you see, if you give this an African man, automatically likes to model himself to whatever it is created or this latest phones, latest cars. If you don't have this, you are not in place. That is the disillusion that the Western world have created, so that to make you feel that you are on top of the game. Superpower is not going to be easy for Africa. Because if Africa must be a super nation, they must go back to their core values of existing challenges. Because where your existing challenges stand is where your existing results will come from. Thank you. My name is Chiba, the Governor of Tass State.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you very much.
You are okay? You have about a minute still. You have a minute?
Are you not convinced by this?
Yes, like you are tired.
You look
Yes.
nice.
This is more of Africa.
Okay.
You have no idea where this came from. From Cameroon. It has a boundary with Taraba State. We share the same language, share the same source. True same. You know Mambila Plateau?
Yes, Mambila
The
Plateau.
most beautiful state in Nigeria as far as I'm concerned.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Your opinion and we won't contest.
It's not
Yeah.
an opinion, sir. It's a fact. It's a very serious fact. The Bahamas are just babies. The Caribbeans are just babies. Because we don't know how to harness our properties and our, you know what I'm talking about, doesn't mean we don't know, but we don't own the greatest.
Thank you very much, Governor of Taraba.
Thank you so
Thank you.
much.
Huh? Points. Same one.
Yeah, this that is streamlined.
That's what you spoke. These points.
Points. The strongest I see is he didn't deviate from his stand that colonization is neither there. We could have done better without it. And he based it on our mentality, on our core values. For appearance,
Amazing.
it looked
Very good.
the only thing I see is just it can be unfair to the people on the second stage now. If we had done it before, then we'll be fair. Like I would have been taking their 5 minutes from the minute they caused them. Because as you're not artists, you are governors. So you have, for me, I expect you to start coming from there. with
Okay,
confidence.
like you mean his
Entrance.
entry and exit.
Yeah, most of
and
them
his-
were trying to do some entries and exits.
But for me, I
some
think
were
it's,
not.
I think it's left.
Some
I
were
think the whole thing is based on African and whichever way you want to present
If someone
Africa
wants
in
to-
your
if
own
someone
way.
wants to do backflips
it's
and
fine.
come in, I really don't have
If
a problem.
it actually is in his culture,
Yeah.
that's fine.
No,
That's
even
an
beyond-
entrance of
Beyond
maybe
that, the scoring guideline doesn't take any consideration into
your entrance.
Presentation, and for me, presentation is how you enter. For me,
Okay.
presentation is how you deliver yourself to me. Sometimes there are some that were talking. I was actually yeah, I'll be very sincere.
Yeah.
And some didn't start out right, but later on we got actually taking notes. So for anybody that makes me take notes, I'll score you well. But if you don't make me take notes, like some of them I didn't get their names. Someone that gets me to understand it, get his name, presentation first scores well for me. Because you can even present your name well. And it gives them chances to
No, but for me, if you back into this place,
it doesn't.
you
It
don't make
really
any
makes
point.
and as long as it's in line with culture, that's fine.
Good day. Yes.
Representing the big heart of this nation, the heart of the Niger Delta. The neighborhood governor from Delta State. My name is Oshiku.
Okay, Delta State, you are welcome. You have 5 minutes. 4th minute, I will show you the timer so that you have the last minute to round up. Your time starts now.
Let me start by making it very clear. I remain adamant that there is no excuse why most African countries are largely underdeveloped today. I subscribe to the school of thought that will not put our blames on the past mistakes. Let me start by making my stance known. Without colonization, most African countries would have become superpowers. My stance is false. We have to make very vital clarification. I have to set the record straight for the African minds to realize the truth. Colonization to us was the overthrowing of our native authority, the imposition of foreign rule, and the annexing of our land and our territory, our nation, our people as colonies. Superpowers are industrialized nations, leading the world in military might, economy, infrastructure, as well as health and economy. Now, these 3 clarifications that Africans need to know is very simple. Clarification number 1, colonization by virtue of our tax. Colonization in itself, the dictionary meaning does not connote slave trade or the interaction with Western world. That era does not connote that word colonization. The dictionary meaning is insufficient. We need to understand that from the Berlin Conference in 1884, that was when colonization began. In 1886, Lagos was now annexed a colony. So we need to set the record straight. Clarification number 1. Clarification number 2, Professor Opaku Olowitimi made it clear in his book, The Art of Black Man's Civilization. He said for the black race to imagine the illusion that the Egyptians, the Maghrebs, the Carthaginians, that these non-African nations, if a black man traces his root to death, he calls it the black illusion. It is an illusion to say the nice civilization, Africa is tied to it. The African race is just trying to rebuild their ego. It's an inferiority complex. I have to make it clear to the minds of Africans. It is not a bankable idea, whether as a thesis or in the academic environment. Clarification number 3, by virtue of comparison, we have the uncolonized Ethiopia and the most, sadly to say, the country that suffered the worst apartheid, slave trade, human demeaning, South Africa. Put them side by side. Uncolonized, colonized. Which one is more of a superpower today? We must not deny the fact of the dehumanization of colonization. Though a brief period of less than 100 years, singularly because of the fact that the Kwame Nkrumah Pan-Africanism spread from the 1960s. So we can say after 50 years, how can Africa still, with at least 60% of the world's resources, still be blaming the brief period of less than 100 years? It is very clear, if the Japanese could have suffered and recovered from the Hiroshima, if the Israelis could have suffered the Holocaust, the anti-Semitism, over 2,000 years of exile, and they are still where they are today, if Singapore without the resources can do it in 20 years, why should African leaders be clamoring that colonization is issued after 50 years? I do not subscribe to the school of thought that blames the past. We can do nothing about the past, but the future has no right to catch us unawares. This is my stance. Without colonization, most African countries will not be superpowers. My stance is false. That is my submission. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Yes. We still have about 1.5 minutes. More points to add, or you have already hit it?
I will end it here by saying the black race needs to take responsibility. I didn't come here to blame anybody because 50 years is more than enough to make it superpower. Our current economy, our current situation, spreading across Africa, can be boiled down to mental slavery and poor leadership. This is my stance, not colonization.
Thank you. You may take your leave. Thank you very much.
Some strong points.
Yeah.
Well, he's trying to say that the rest of us down here shouldn't be bragging about Egypt. We went past there.
Egypt is
Now look at South Africa. They face the meanest, and where are they now?
So
look at Singapore. Look at, yes, it's us.
It's actually mental. It all boils down to our mentality. What do you have to say? You want to see that you're smiling here?
He was hitting it, and his presentation was good.
Perfect.
I felt the energy. It was there.
He was
yeah.
like speaking from his heart.
Now, in less than 3 minutes, he was able to pass his point.
That's articulate.
Articulate. He went there, no reading. He gave us. He joined everything. He put Egypt there. He put colonization. He put superpower.
Yeah.
Without reading it, all were put in there.
Very articulate.
Yes.
I think him and Plato, they won my heart. If there's anything I could actually went to
Yes.
Is it ready?
It's not getting related.
Those are from my battery up there. Yes.
Good day, judges.
Good day.
I am Ikechukwu Henry governor of Ebonyi State, the salt of the nation. I am here to discuss on the question colonization. Without colonization, some African countries would have become.
Okay, excuse me. Which state again?
Ebonyi State.
Ebonyi State. Okay. You know you have 5 minutes.
Okay.
On the 4th minute, I will show you the timer so that the last minute you round up. Your time starts now.
Colonization is defined as a position of power to a group of people. Civilization can also be defined as embracing the norms and nationality of progress in human society amongst mankind. With these above definitions, it is very obvious that colonization has taught the growth of civilization in Africa. We cannot comfortably discuss colonization in Africa without these terms, terminologies, and points. Neo-colonialism, nepotism, imperialism, capitalism, slavery, Royal Niger Company, to mention but a few. In the beginning, before the coming of the colonial masters, Africa, we lived in harmony, we lived in peace, we lived in orderliness. We did not have any agony within our neighboring countries, our neighboring states. Everything that existed within these states, we saw it as ours. But the colonial masters came and broke this chain of unity, bonding us as one brother, as one family, as a true nation. It is a big lie to say that civilization in Africa was brought by the colonial masters, because the civilization was already existing in Africa. In some parts in Africa, like the Egypt, the Oyo Empire, the Benin monarch, the Ashanti of Ghana, from the 1800 to 1960s, colonization contributed to the backwardness in Africa in the following ways: leadership, traditional leadership, disruption of system of government, slavery, over-dependence, fictional boundaries, and inventions. Traditional leaders, before the coming of the colonial masters, we had our traditional leaders who we respected, we honored, we lived to make sure that their government was intact. But they came and imposed their own leadership on us, which brought about disrespect, disorderliness, and that brought to the crash of this system. Disruption of the disruption of system of government. Before the colonial masters, we had a system of government in Benin. We had Ilife, we had Nupe, we had Kadembono Empire, we had Sokoto Caliphate, which were on ground, and we were living without complaining before the coming of these colonial masters. The people understood these systems, and they lived in harmony. Now, over-dependent, we were too dependent on these colonial masters. We were too carried away by what they brought to us, that we could not think of inventions to make. Adoption of Western cultures. That was the greatest mistake Africa made, by adopting these Western cultures and allowing our cultural value system to keep diminishing as the day goes by. What is the future we have for our generation? Africa needs to stand and revive the culture. The artificial boundaries. After the amalgamation of some African countries, like the amalgamation of Nigeria in 1914, caused by the ethnic groups. This amalgamation brought boundaries to different ethnic groups. And these boundaries now brought limitation, envy, and grudge between these ethnic groups. Imagine where I, as a different country, now knows that we don't share common boundaries. Again, with the other country that produces oil, we produce gold. This one country that produces oil will be angry at me because because it does not have free access into my country at its own will. And me, I'm very angry at the country that produces gold. This brings about envy in our system, which was one of the factors that brought it. Now, it pains me so much when I remember the fact that slave trade was one of the main reasons of this colonization. It was very painful to discover that over 400 years, Africa was on stagnation. Today, Africa is said to be 100 years back development, but we were left 400 years of stagnation. How were we able to meet up to beat 300 years, even with our disorderliness within our nations? Is it possible for someone who is hungry, suffering, to build a nation?
20 seconds.
When over 10 million young men, able-bodied men, were taken out of our nation, and we are left with less unknown children to cater for themselves, they were struggling to survive. With these little points of mine, I am able to convince you that colonization brought to the down growth of civilization in Africa. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yes.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
All right.
Thank you.
You may leave.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yes.
He was quite animated.
Yes, I know.
I don't think it was an excellent
No.
presentation.
Yes. Recapping of what's
Yeah, he did.
Appearance, fine.
Yes. Your time.
Yeah, I want to see more of the ladies.
Come forward.
Yes.
Welcome.
Sorry, we don't have a clock inside here. So.
Can you?
We have a
No, don't worry. Can you step forward?
Okay.
Yes. Yes.
Can you see him?
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Introduce yourself.
Okay. Well, greetings to you all, my panel of judges.
Thank you.
And I am the Labour Arm Governor representing Benue State,
Benue State.
Invictus Silver University, and of course, we are here for this discourse.
So you said Benue State.
Yes, Benue State.
Now you have 5 minutes.
Okay.
4th minute will show you the clock,
Okay.
so that you round up in the last minute.
Okay.
Your time starts now. Go.
Okay. Well, what is colonization? Colonization is the deliberate and systematic practice of imposing a foreign culture into another so as to totally subjugate, control, and continually exploit it for selfish and profitable purposes. Concerning the argument on what superpowers are, there's actually so much to say on that matter, but then there are certain variables that are constant as far as you're talking about superpowers, and that is economic viability, that must be in place, high intellectual human capacity, that must also be in place, stable political system or structure, that also has to be in place for it to be a superpower, and recognized and highly upheld cultural values. These are actually the major ones before all the other sub ones. Well, the term colonization over the years has actually been synonymous with Africa's greatest undoing, even though we forget that, yes, colonization might be a major a major scourge that touched Africa, but there are many other things also that touched Africa, such as apartheid and all that. Well, we are here to actually answer the questions. Without colonization, most African countries would have become superpowers. True or false? I say false. I say false. Because it's high time we stop playing the victim. Every single nation in this world faced a challenge. No. Why couldn't we just take the few that remained, train more, and then expand our capacity? Those skills were discovered. There is still place for self-discovery. Rather than stay and say, okay, we lost labor, we lost skill and craft and all that in the forms of slaves. No. Africa lost its natural resources. Yes, but then, last I checked, we are a continent that is full of a lot of natural resources that can still be mined and all that. And I am here today to say that what colonization did to us, we cannot deny it. But then, of what use is it to dwell on it. We know where we are coming from so that we might chart a wiser course in the future. I'm calling on everyone there because we need to take responsibility. Rise up, maximize our circumstances, maximize our human and natural resources, maximize our intellectual properties, maximize everything, use the power of innovation, and build into what we should be. So, yes, colonization came, but it is not the reason why we are where we are at. We are where we are at simply because we did not take responsibility. I am standing here to commit to taking responsibility, and I'm calling on everyone out there to connect to the Super 37 in the labor room. We are onto a project right now called the Green Century Code. This project and many other projects are deliberate. We believe with conscious steps, we will grow into the superpower, having that stability that we admire all over the world. Well, that's what I have here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Wait. You have a minute and a half to go. You are sure you've hit all the points you want?
If you're sure you've made your point.
Well,
yes.
I'm actually sure I've made my point. I'm not here to cry the victim. Books have been written by people, even such as, Rodney Walters saying that, how Africa was, was underdeveloped by Europe. There are many of those cries out there. We're not denying, yes, a lot of injustice was done to us. We know where we are coming from so that we know how we plan where we are going to. But seriously, are we supposed to stay on that? We want progress. Before the colonial masters came, Africa was full of kingdoms, each of them with structures in place that were working. They came, they took what they took away, but we still have our structures. Let us build from where we are at. So I'm not here. Yeah. No, what I'm saying is that colonization or not, if Africa had taken responsibility before now, all of it would have been, Africa would have been full of different nations that are all superpowers. Because even without the colonial masters, we had structures. Look at the Benin Kingdom. Look at how advanced it were, using oil lamps on streets far back then. Everything you see, those colonial masters had, it was innovation that brought it about. They discovered electricity, and Africa was on that path. But then, where did we get it wrong? They came, distracted us, used religion, education, and downplayed our psychology. But were we not smart enough to say that, do we want to leave this kind of world to our unborn children? That's what we would have risen up and said that, yes, we have a lot that we can still work with.
All
So,
right.
thank you.
Thank you very much.
So it's not their fault that we're here.
Okay.
But then we will make the next phase worthwhile.
All right.
Thank you, Benue State. All right. So, did she hit it?
Shouldn't blame the colonial masters.
Okay.
She's not.
That's what she's trying to say. She's what?
I get what she's saying, but she has to speak true or false.
Yeah, but
She said false.
False, yes.
Yes.
So false is without colonization, some African countries will have become superpowers. False. Now, but her argument was true.
That's what I say she
Which
was.
most of them have been doing. But thank God she had more time, so I was just obliged to
No,
ask her
but
that.
I think what she was saying was, I think she modified the whole thing a little bit by saying with or without colonization, Africa, we should just, for her, we should just take colonization out of it.
That means
for her.
But that's not the point of what they came to say.
No, I'm with you.
Do you understand?
But,
we are
but
here
I think
for what?
That's what I think she redefined the topic by saying, with or without colonization, we should be superpowers.
maybe that's the major problem we have. If you're giving
Good morning.
Forward. Okay. Stand in the middle.
Just stand behind it.
Behind the...
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Which state?
Labour Governor for Osun State.
Osun State.
Okay.
All right. So you have 5 minutes. In the 4th minute, I will show you the timer. So the last minute, you quickly round up. Can you see him? All right. Your time starts now.
Yes. My name is Patricia Latinto Everina. I'm the Labour Governor for Osun State. Africa is drama. Africa is fun. We teach, we learn, we promote, we create through this. Because drama is life, is a reality of everything. And I'm here to prove to you that before colonization, Africa has superpowers. Let me start with the A to Z of my program. Let's talk about agriculture and arts. Historically, it's proven that we are the mother of Africa. We are the mother of arts and agriculture. Africans are brave and bold. We stand for it. The sea is the culture and the creativity, which is very beautiful. We are dependable and we are dramatic in nature. And that is where we showcase ourselves in any situation we find ourselves. We are most intelligent, and that is why we seek education in help practicalize. When we want to do experimental, it's true education. We are faithful and fearless. Looking into my eyes, do I look down to tell you that we have superpower? In my dream, we are already geographically developed environments before the colonization that make us to call Africa. I will bring it up to you during my history. We are hardworking. We are inquisitive. That's time for high. And the jungle justice and judges is not in our nature. Kingdoms reigns before the colonization. That's that for the king. We are loving people. We are loyal. That is for my help. If you cannot remember anything, just pick the letter and keep remembering my points. The hem, the momentum, and the magic that we call civilization now started from Africa. The 10 kingdoms, the 10 empires before the colonization of Africa. We are natural. Nature is our life. We love nature. We celebrate nature. We are original in everything we do. We go for quality, no matter how much it costs. Political governors and our rulers, our leaders that will give respect to, that is not modernized, called political governance. It all happened before colonization. And those are the powers that make us superior, called super, before the envy that comes. Because colonization is just a way of changing our mentality for what we believe and imposing a foreign rulership upon us. We have it in us. It's in there. But because of our faithfulness, our loyalty, we follow the colonial master to believe what they have preached to us. But little did they know that it cannot last. And here we are. We're not debating it. We are only proving it to you that we are super empowered even before colonization. Quality and quantity. That is what Africa stands for. Religious in terms of power. Science and smart. Let me inform you, or let me remind you of our local drugs that we have before the colonization that heals different sickness and is still working even after colonization. Tourism, wow, it's already there because Africa is the main origin of man. Let me run through the weakness that we have. It's just what I call, which is what of Africa believe. We believe what we hear, what we see. But what is proven otherwise, we go against it. This is no more what we are going to believe. Zoology, ability for us to love nature and environment, keep us doing what we are doing. And that has brought us to the conclusion where I want to tell you that
It's not just what you read in the paper. I am not here to convince you with what I read. Because some of what I read is 50-50, 50 true, 50 lie. What I have seen, what I have born with, what I have experienced, and what I live for, and I'm going to preach it to the generation to come, is what I'm here to tell you. That Africa, before colonization, before that name-giving Africa, we are superpower. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. You may take your leave. Oshun, thank you. All right. Yes, we already have had all those things. 1 minute. So I saw a lot of drama and originality.
Yeah.
That's what she was saying.
She was rather poetic.
Yes, drama originality. So, Mr. Sam?
She gave me a job to do.
What job?
Which is a SWOT analysis of Africa. To actually know what our strengths and weaknesses. She was original.
Yep.
Her style is her style.
Yes.
And she dressed to fit actually. She looked very local actually.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Good afternoon.
My name is Haruna Babele, the Labour Governor of Yobe State.
Yobe State? Yobe.
Yobe State.
Okay, you know you have 5 minutes. Fourth minute will show you your timer. The last minute you round up. Your time starts now.
Okay, the question is...
hold on, can you see him?
Okay, the question is, without colonization, most African countries will have become superpowers. I don't believe in that. I think it's false. First of all, colonization can be defined as the economic, political, and military influence and dominance of a country over another country. On the other hand, a superpower is a country that attains civilization, industrialization, and has advanced terms of production. Such countries are United States of America, Japan, and China. I do not agree that most African countries will have become superpowers if they had not been colonized. The African nation should stop claiming credit for the highly developed culture and civilization of the Phoenicians who were Semite, or the civilization of the Hamite, or that of the Berbers of the Maghreb, the Moors and other white people of the Northern Africa. For black Africans to hold to the idea that Egyptian and the Maghreb civilization were product of black man's ingenuity is to live in a world of illusion. This attitude would not help our race. Even though people are correct when they say that the Egyptian civilization was African, but it should be clear that it was not black. Studies conducted by remarkable historians such as Ajayi, Ayebola, Fray Gilberto, Woodson Carter, Dr. Joseph, and many others say that the ancient Egypt were white and not black. Do not get me wrong, I'm not anti-African. I am only trying to establish the fact that prior to the coming of the white men, there was no clear evidence that the African countries or kingdoms as it were on the track of being a superpower. I believe colonization brings suffering to a nation. Many colonized nations often come out stronger and better when it's over. There is literally no country or nation that has not witnessed colonization in one form or the other. The world at different intervals have witnessed the Roman Empire. The empire comes with its unique impact in different parts of the world. It helped in the spread of Roman civilization. The Greek Empire was also instrumental in the spread of Greek civilization, philosophy, literature, and industry. The British likewise ushered in a new wave of socio-economic activities in Nigeria, as well as the countries colonized by Europe in Africa. While Europe witnessed industrial revolution in the 18th century, leading to the invention of rail, train, automobile, and aircraft, Africa has left behind with many living in primitive rural areas.
The coming of the euro brought about technology, science, and above all education. In the areas of science, perhaps, the remarkable is which murdered many Africans, example, malaria, leprosy, typhoid, and tuberculosis. Most African countries currently have what it takes to be superpowers, but a deliberate decision and action must be taken to achieve it. Malaysia, Singapore, South Korea, Hong Kong, Canada, all were colonized, but today they are all relatively superpowers. Many Eastern European countries were also colonized by Russia in the past, but today they are drastically industrialized, while Africa is not. And I will not jump into economic policies the government should take today, but with a heavy heart, I wish Africa could rise up from the death of colonization, which is now in the past, dust herself and move on into greatness. There is a hope, and the hope is now.
No, I was thinking like a teacher. The Pretambua.
No, the
Sokoto, okay, the house.
Our Sokoto here.
Yeah. No, but this one he was.
Okay.
But this one is better. Right?
This one is
he
better,
was
yes.
better. He reminds me of a newscaster.
You mean like a teacher?
Well, I think he also made points.
Yes.
He did.
I think he went with it in a different way.
But I think that debate will be endless, where the ancient Egyptians, black people, or white people, or something in between. I think that debate will be endless.
Presently, they are.
No, the Arabs there.
Yes, the Arab. Yes.
It's obvious they weren't the people of the ancient civilization. But
Yes.
the people they replaced, what were they like? That's a question.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
My name is John Johnson. I'm the Labor Room Governor for Ondo State.
Ondo State. Okay, which state? Ondo.
Ondo State.
Yeah. Now you have 5 minutes. You know that.
Yes, sir.
4th minute, I'll show you the timer. The last minute, you quickly round up. Okay. Your time starts now.
Okay. First of all, I'm the author of a book called The Re-Evolution of the Black Mind. This is based on the psychology that black people have attained due to the effects of colonization anyway. Attained the ability to develop and the black African history, put them together with regards to ancient Egypt. We can actually prove that the natural, that is normal human growth, was disrupted the very first time that Africans were enslaved. And this is when Babylon came from Indo-European Asia Minor, called Mesopotamia. And yes, Babylon attacked and took over a really humanitarian, trusted and accommodating, unsuspecting Egypt. This Egyptian civilization was therefore hijacked, ruled, and colonized. I emphasize colonized by Babylon. They were enslaved until they all ran out in groups deeper into Africa. Now, as they did this, they ran into the heart of Africa, and most of the escapees settled in and around Africa, as well as here, what we today call Nigeria. Well, Nigeria, but in actual fact, was termed Nigeria. Theoretically, gives reason to us seeing that a nigger is a being of African persuasion that is stingy with his lot. We can tell, we know Africa has a lot of resources, and these white men came to colonize just for these resources. Now, these niggardly niggers, in quotes, stingy Negroes, developed new cultures and brilliant organization, as they once did in the civilized Egypt and the surrounding Nile area. Now, this proved that Africans still organized enough to build civilizations even after they left Egypt, which means that their psychology was then still undamaged until a point in history where they were recolonized again in Africa, like Egypt was. And this time, their psychology was attacked by a man called William Lynch in 1712, who developed a psychological way to control the slave's mind by erasing the history of those generations beforehand to introduce a new mental way of thinking, basically. And what he did was erasing the substantial history and foundations of the Africans, ensure that the black people, the black descendants after, had a broken psychology of the African race, beginning with the enslaved people in the diaspora, and then it was brought to Africa itself to be established into new offspring, who now had no historical basis. Now, this gave them the inability to build civilization, which is a growing process. And with no points of beginnings, they were individually confused and foundationless, like a ball revolving around an axis inside of a vacuum that is outside of reality. And this thus breeds superstition, hope, and faith, depending on this rather than facing the problems, which if tackled would actually build foundations in reality, which means growth in civilization could be achieved. In fact, the black inventors still existed in European countries, such as Joseph Dixon, who built the arm for a record player. Robert Fleming built the guitar, invented the guitar. B.F. Jackson, the gas burner, and Joseph Jackson, a programmable remote control, and Isaac Johnson, a bicycle frame. This proves that black people do have the capacity to do this, and like I said, we'll do it in today's world, if only the psychology can be reset. The revolution of the black mind is what I'm talking about here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ondo State, thank you very much. Take care of you.
Thank you.
Yes. Did he say he wrote a book?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, when he walked in, I didn't recognize him. When he was talking, I closed my eyes. I've seen him speak somewhere.
Okay, yes, I can. Yes.
And something is telling me it's his book.
His book is, yes, wrote it.
Everybody else has been feeding on.
Okay, yeah. Because he was just saying
yes,
it.
I got some. I'm just playing. I'm trying to remember. It's not coming. I've met him somewhere. I think I saw some material.
From that book, okay.
Yes.
He really wrote it. Mr. Sam?
That's what I'm saying. That's what
yes.
What was his point?
Yes.
What stand was
he was, I think he was on true. Was it false?
He was, I think he was on false.
He was on false?
He actually was making his own point that blacks are great. Yeah, he didn't come out right and say true or false. But he was like, black people are great people and could do all things.
In other words,
so I want to believe that he says
false.
true. That colonialism, without colonialism, Africans would have been better, yes.
Okay.
Don't worry, you'll get it. You'll come back. On those states, you'll come back. Good afternoon.
My name is Albert Suleiman, representing Nasarawa State.
Nasarawa State. So you know you have 5 minutes. You have 5 minutes. On the 4th minute, I'll show you your timer. The last minute, you use it to round up. Your time starts now.
Okay. I'm here to deliberate on the topic. Without colonization, most African countries will be superpowers. That is very true. First, let me start by defining colonization. Colonization is referred to as the imposition of a foreign rule in order to exploit, dominate a nation or a people. Exploit and dominate, these are very two unfriendly words. As at 1432 in the Old Benin Kingdom, they entered into a bilateral cultural and political agreement with Portugal. The then Oba Issoufou sent Ohen Okun as an ambassador to Portugal in order to facilitate business transactions between these two kingdoms. At that same period, a port was established at Guato, which was meant as to be an entry point into Nigeria. Imagine in the 6th centuries ago, a port was established, but today in current day Nigeria, we are finding it difficult to maintain one functional port in Lagos. Colonization took out our values, our morals, and most importantly, our culture. The colonial masters made sure that the new generation did not learn our true values, our true cultures. We have to adapt into their system. Adapting into their system meaning we have to wait for them to invent and actualize before we can start learning afresh. Our chain of communication was broken down. Immediately we adapt to cultures, the language of our colonial masters. Because up to date we are still finding it difficult to translate certain words from our local dialects to English, French, German, etc. Electricity, education, these are things they left behind. Because they are things we did not invent our own way. How do they us to maintain it properly? Anytime we become faulty, we have to run back to them to seek for help. As at Chamensa, there was so much abandoned gold in Mali as at that. With a changed valued system, education, and that's such a strong economy. Imagine the possibility such a nation could have attained after all these years, but colonization restricted that. That brought me down to Charles Darwin that said that civilization was originated in Africa. There is a Scottish historian, Tass, that said that Africa ruled the world during the Stone Age. So will most African countries be superpowers if not for colonization? I would say African countries were already superpowers before colonization. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Okay, you have a minute to go. You all right?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. Governor of Nasarawa State. All right. Thank you. You may leave. Asarawa. He said a lot in a short time.
Yeah.
And he was articulate. He put
Yeah,
it.
he was.
Yes, said a lot. It's not even all about the English. It's about just having your
Hitting the nail.
hitting the point. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Nigeria.
Good afternoon.
Okay,
Introduce yourself.
my name is Monsi George. So,
Can you see forward? Can you
And
see?
be audible more.
okay, yes. My name is also Joy Chinonso, Labour Room Governor for Abia State.
Abia State.
Yes.
Now you have 5 minutes. In the 4th minute, I'll show you your timer. The last minute, you use it to round up. Your time starts now.
Africans' failure and success lies in their bare hands. Before me this morning, or this afternoon, is an argument that without colonization, most African nations would have become a superpower nation. My basis of argument is false, and I will be backing up my points with some facts in the next few minutes. To start with, I would like to describe the word colonization. Colonization is the imposition of a system of government on a nation by a foreign power. Let me make this clear. I am not saying that colonization of Africans was a good thing. What I'm saying is that it has a necessary event in the development of African nations. African nations wouldn't have developed due to this fact. Bloody inter-tribal wars, encouragement of slave trade by African rulers. Western world helped to unite African tribes, which brought about beauty of our diversities and others. Pre-colonial African rulers such as King Sheikh of Zulu, the Yoruba Kingdom, Benin Kingdom, etc. all had an organized military system that constantly went to war to kill, lord, and colonize villagers for the purpose of collecting tax and slaves. Secondly, before colonization came into effect, slavery of Africans had been going on. This slavery was started by greedy Africans and exploited by Europeans. Slavery was highly profitable to both Africans and Europeans because it was Africans who kidnapped the Africans before selling them to the Europeans. Some of the most important benefits of colonizations are improved medical system which help with the knowledge and cure of certain diseases, e.g., sickle cell used to be considered as ogbanje due to early deaths by the sick child. Establishment of formal school system gave Africans opportunities of exploring different areas of our environment. This brought about spreading development among African nations, e.g., mechanization of agriculture, improved social amenities because in the African societies. Unfortunately, Africans had never been lucky to have many leaders at her disposal. It is so sad that in most African nations, even after decades of gaining independence, don't know where they are going to in the next 5 years. Many of the problems in African nations are bad leadership, corruption, ethnic jingoism, and lack of strong institutions to strengthen the economy. In conclusion, now, should we say colonization is our problem? No. The problem is with the people, the mental state of the African people, the crude behavior, lack of tolerance for the other ethnic groups, lack of ethnic unity, racism, and others. Even in South Africa, we still hear about the killings of black killing black. Why? No respect for human life. I must note at this point that if most African nations will be regarded as a superpower nation,
The people must be willing to embrace mental restructuring, hence respect for human life, have a well-defined national dialogue, a sustainable economic development policy that can be pursued for decades, such as our new very own the Green Century Code. I think I have country's super nation. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes. Abia, take your leave. Thank you very much. Yes. Yes.
Even if you're making it look like a speech.
You see? So that's it. What do you think point? It's the same point I was hearing. Okay.
Yeah, she read a speech.
Yes, yes. That's what you were saying too. Same, Mr. Sam?
Well, I enjoyed it. Because she was the first false person that stood on false.
And stayed on false.
And defended the false.
Okay.
Please,
Yeah,
yes.
just stop here. It's fine. Oh, okay.
Okay, please.
Okay. Like,
I thought you said they don't go out. I thought you said
they got within the house.
Okay. Please introduce yourself.
My name is Ifeanyi Chidebere, Liberal Governor for Ogun State.
For which state?
Ogun State.
Ogun State. Now you have 5 minutes. 4th minute, I'll show you the timer. The last minute, you use it to round up. Your time starts now.
Now, the British contact with Nigeria dates back to the 15th and 16th century. Germany was defeated in the First World War between 1914 and 1918. And afterwards, with the Leagues of Nations, Togo and Cameroon being colonial territories taken over by Germany, were taken back in 1919. I'm Liberal Governor of the state. Now, I would have loved to continue expressing myself in Igbo, being one of the major ethnic groups in Nigeria, but I can't. Why? Because the colonial masters came, they met a people strong and diverse in different ethnic groups, and they broke us. Now, let me quickly express, or rather highlight some of her pre-colonial eras. The Hausa and the Fulani, they were known for their absolute monarchy. The Igbos, they were known for decentralization. They practiced village democracy. The Yorubas, well, with the Alaafin Oyo and his chiefs, they were able to carry out laws and all, but they practiced constitutional monarchy. But each time the Oba was despotic or unconstitutional, he was removed. He was replaced. Now here comes the irony. Our colonial masters came. They met a people who had their own different, diverse monarchies, and they still broke us. Until date, our colonial masters, they still have their own constitutional monarchy. What a surprise. Now, without colonization, would most African countries have become superpowers? Oh yes, I say yes. Now, welcome to what I call the African misconceptions. Now, 1, art, culture, and tradition. Now, in front of you, please go ahead. Right there in front of you is the soap. Right there, sir, is a shea butter called ori. Right there is coconut oil. Now, mix the ori, the coconut oil, palm oil, and some other things. You get your black soap. Our people were using this. They were using this even before our colonial masters came. Ladies and gentlemen, we also have agriculture. Our people marketed and practiced commercial subsistence farming, which was highly seen and sought for. The colonial masters were highly jealous of our agricultural processes. It was organized. Communication and courier services. Now, over there is what we call, or what I call, the Aroko courier service. Any person who was given this by the then Yoruba Empire or kingdom would know that he is being summoned to come to become a king. We had those then. Of course, we had our system of trade, what we call foreign exchange now. It's advanced Sahara trade route through which there was trade by barter. We had gold, we had iron, we had different things. We had bronze. Ladies and gentlemen, technology and architecture. We were not in caves. We were not in bushes like we are being told. But our colonial masters saw a people who were organized. lastly, now Adam Smith, permit me to read, in 1776 wrote that we were both better established and more populous than established countries. Now, did colonization end up being a greater evil or not? Now, here are the strengths, or rather, not the strength. They will think it's the strength, but it's not. Now, here are some of the problems that we have because of colonization: dependency, inferiority syndrome, and direction. But still, date, our people still run back to our colonial masters for financial aid, for help, for technical know-how. Till date, African culture is nowhere to be seen. I love the way I'm looking because I'm an African woman. I'm a Nigerian woman. I love it, and I'm not going to trade it for anything. Capitalism. We used to have communalism and collectivism. People worked as a unit. People worked together. But now we have an economic crisis. Adaptation of Western value system, political structure. Now we have the Clifford Constitution, McPherson Constitution, Liberty Constitution, Richard Constitution, the Lagos Constitution Conference, the London Constitution Conference. Until date, you have the 1999 Constitution as amended. And the 1999 Constitution as amended is a combination, is a direct combination of all these other constitutions meant to disrupt and disturb us mentally. Until date, our state, the state in Nigeria is this way because of all these things showed down to us. Now, clear colonizing, this is an advanced form of colonization. Now, for 400 years, Africa stood still. Now, we are like monkeys who reach out for banana outside our territory, even though we still have lots of banana within us. NLP practitioners will call it mental slavery. Now, here before you, ladies and gentlemen, this is enough reasons for you to say and to know that without colonization, African countries, Nigeria being a case study, would be where it's supposed to be. Now, it's time for us to go back to our foundation. It's time for us to draw our map, restructure ourselves, and get to that height where we are supposed to be. I'm an African woman. My name is Ifenla Olebede. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yes, thank you. That's all. Yes, you can come and carry them.
Take them.
So who is summoning who? You know, you've kept it here. Who has summoned us?
You're being summoned to be kings in your different empires.
Amen. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Someone used to say, how can you say that the Wright brothers invented
the aeroplane
flight when
yes.
the Edo people have been flying? So I think that's what she's trying to show, that Africans will be actually industrialized long
before now.
Before now. They should have allowed us to just stay on our own path without
would have been somewhere else, yes.
What did she call that? That's courier service.
Courier service, yes.
Better than DHL and UPS. I like that.
Oh, my phone has gone off.
Your phone has gone off. Any other phone?
My phone is about to go off.
Okay, let's have your timer for this one. Then after that, we'll get afternoon. Can you step forward a little bit? All right. Introduce yourself.
Okay. Good afternoon, distinguished panelists. Yes. My name is Shamsuddin Magaji from the land of Equity, Kebbi State.
Which state?
Land of Equity, Kebbi State.
Kebbi State.
Okay.
Now you have 5 minutes.
Okay.
Yes. And on the 4th minute, we'll inform you, we'll show you the timer, so that the last minute you use it to round up.
Okay.
Your time starts now.
Okay. Good afternoon once again, distinguished panelists. I am Shamsuddin Magaji from the land of Equity, Kebbi State. The question before me today is, without colonization, most African countries would have become superpowers, true or false? To start with, what is colonization? Simply put, it is the imposition of a foreign rule or culture. Did I say imposition? Yes. Its major characteristics are domination, exploitation, and oppression. Distinguished panelists, looking at all the conditions as well as the paraphernalia surrounding colonialism, I say with all air of pomposity that colonialism has inhibited our progress in Africa and therefore has made us not to be among the superpowers. Going down the historicity of the civilization of Africa, there is a universal acceptance that civilization as well as life itself started from Africa. Civilization in the early times is traced to the Nile Basin. The Alexandria University, which is the world's first university, is located in Egypt. Prominent Greek philosophers like Aristotle, Socrates benefited from the educational philanthropy of Africa. The Nile civilization gave birth to epoch inventions unequaled in the history of human existence. They invented writing, evoked a refined system system of the use of numerals, calendar, astronomy, as well as astrology. As regards architecture, it evolved artistic styles and made this evident in the pyramid of Egypt, which is one of the wonders of the world. In the area of medicine, it extracted drugs from plants and innovated chemical processes and preserved the dead bodies for a prolonged period of time. Going back to the Zimbabwe civilization, the elliptical temple, the Valley of Ruins, as well as the Acropolis, estimated at about 820 feet long, 32 feet high, and 15 feet wide, were all monumental pieces of architectural excellence to behold. I have today at this point that colonialism raped us of our own African Julius Berger. Distinguished panelists, before the advent of colonialism, the Sudan remained for many years the source of supply of gold to the world. This is to say we had the technical know-how to refine and process our gold even before the advent of colonialism. Sub-Saharan trade was evident and gold promoted trans-Saharan trade. The caravan routes that bridge the Mediterranean and African world are a part of the fact that not in theory but born even to the world. The Arab traders exchanged their wares of clothes, beads, dates, salt for gold. This is to say that we have foreign exchange even prior to the coming of the colonialists. And this is me trying to say this is the point where we are ripped of our own African Wall Street. Coming to the Federal Republic of Nigeria, to say that colonialism has raped our country of her glorious heritage and civilization can only best be imagined. The northern part of Nigeria had a great administrative structure and a modern means of administration of justice even prior to the advent of the colonialism. The system of government in the Oyo Empire was an enviable one. The modern system of check and balances were in place even before the colonialists because there was a clear-cut demarcation of power between the Alafin and the Oyo Messi. To say that we were a disorganized set of people before the civilization, before the colonialization is a mirage. The Oyo military under the Are Onakankafo fortified with strong security which demanded the availability of iron-made weapons, tipped arrows, merchant, sword, and fleet guns. Distinguished panelists, at this point I say this was the moment we were robbed of our own Nigerian Pentagon. As regards education, there was a system of writing among the Ibio-Efik people of the southeastern part of Nigeria called the NCBD. What about the cultural and material richness of the African statecraft of the Benin Kingdom? Wow. Now, this is me trying to say, without missing what colonialism came into being as a result of the abolition of the slave trade, where Africa was partitioned at the Berlin Conference. It therefore goes without saying that the root of colonialism was anchored on slavery. A bad mother never produced good children. Based on the above revelation, it is transparent to those who can see and translucent to the myopic that colonization is contrary to natural justice, equity, and good conscience. Since the essence of colonialism is exploitation, oppression, then two wrongs does not make a right. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Governor. Yes. Kebbi State.
Yes.
Thank you very much. You may go.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Yes.
I like it smart.
Yeah. Wall Street, Julius Berger, Pentagon, how we were robbed of them. Yes. How he infused it into it. He looked at it. He looked at the bigger picture. So, Mr. Sam?
But I think he also maybe touched the point I like when he said that colonialism was given birth to by the slave trade. And I said earlier that people were making reference to, but if you check, you really can't separate the two because one actually gradually subsided into the other. Probably if the slave trade wasn't stopped, so they would have carried on across at some point. So when slavery stopped, then I had to come anchor here and shift focus to other things.
How many people? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Good day.
Can I hear you? Can you step
Be
forward?
audible.
Can you see you? Okay.
Good day, judges.
Yes.
My name is Iwari Beshwate, and I'm representing the people of Cross River State.
Cross River State. Now you have 5 minutes. The fourth minute will show you the timer so that the last minute you use it to round up. Your time starts now.
I have come to terms with the fact that the prize of greatness is responsibility. It is time African leaders come to terms with this fact. Today is about the topic. Without colonization, most African countries won't have a superpower. My stand is false. Once again, I'm Iwari Beshwate and I'm representing Cross River State. Colonization is a process by which superior, stronger and larger nations conquer and overthrow the authority, leadership of a small nation or group of people and annex the conquered territory and colony. What do we mean by superpower? Superpower are highly industrialized and developed nations with well-developed infrastructure like education sector, military, agriculture, and food security. An example of it is the USA. Nobody can deny the exploitations and the history of colonization, but that is not all colonization gives to us. And that is not why we are largely underdeveloped as a continent. Colonization gives value to human lives. Christianity, missionary. An example is Mary Saliso, who stopped the killing of twins in my state, Cross River State. And that has resulted in saving lots and lots of generations. Colonization brought superior technology. Most African countries had hundreds of soldiers, but they did not have sufficient weapons. Colonization brought sufficient weapons to them, like guns, air marshals, and all of that. Superior mental works, science, technology. The colonists conquered our ancient rulers. Colonization paved the way for others and numerous technology to come into this nation, Africa. Farmers now have tools to cultivate infrastructure. Without doubt, Africans had resources but didn't have efficient means of transporting them. Colonization brought in efficient means of transportation through Africa, that is the railway. It also brought in the story buildings. Africa became global trade in natural resources and cash crops, giving global recognition. Colonization gave Africa her great gift of education, which without colonization we wouldn't have been here today. Colonization also gave us a stand for who we are now. Education is a backrock of every society. Colonization is not the reason most African countries are not superpower. This remains my stand. The main problem that has hindered most African countries is rulership mentality, poor leadership, and political instability. These and many more are real facts responsible for the status of African countries. In conclusion, I am highly of the opinion that to correct the enormous beliefs of Africans, that colonization is to be blamed for our backwardness. We have to rise up, stop playing a victim to the past, and take full responsibility of our future by maximizing what we have and deliberately planning and implementing long-term sustainable development plan for Nigeria. Thank you.
Thank you. Cross River. Also, you may leave. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Next. Hurry up.
Nice speech.
Mr. Sam, Cross River.
Yeah, good points.
Okay.
Good points for her start being false. She stayed within her academic field. I like that. Her presentation here is fine, but she made me understand the point.
But I had to blink when she said that they brought better weapons. And I was thinking whether it was a good thing.
Maybe I was looking at. Maybe I was looking. Maybe
they brought guns.
Yes, technologically, yes. Modernization. Modernization.
Than what we had. The
yes.
spare and the
more and better
arrows.
weapons of mass destruction were actually good for Africa. I wouldn't know.
Chaka the Zulu was not the one that improved the spear. Yes. Next. Good afternoon. Okay, can you step forward? Can you see him there by the right?
Okay.
Okay. Please introduce yourself.
My name is Sharon Demide Stephens, the Labour Governor for Kaduna State.
Kaduna State, Kaduna. Okay. You have 5 minutes. 4th minute will show you the timer. The last minute you use it to round up. Your time starts now.
Thank you very much. I'm here to discuss without colonization, most African countries would have become a superpower. And I'm here to defend to stand on the truth. With the word coming out of my mouth, into your ears, down to your mind, I believe at the end of this presentation, I'll be able to convince you that colonization is what made African countries not to become superpower. First of all, I'd like to define what colonization is. Is the imposition of foreign rules or policy into a particular country, region, or group of people for their own personal benefit. From the above definition, you know that the main reason why colonization came to Africa was not for our own good, rather but for their own benefit. Before they came to Africa, we had our existing values, our traditional beliefs, and our value system, but they came and turned everything to their favor. They created enmity between us and making us to fight each other because they knew that's the only way they can separate Africa. But if they have left us, African, to do our thing our own way, we could have still cut off with the world globalization through the cradle of civilization, which is Egypt, through their production of writing materials and books. It may amaze that the first university in the world is from Africa. That's Alexandria University in Egypt. And also the first male and female philosophers, we are from Africa as well. That's the person of Plotinus and Hypatia. This clearly shows that Africa is a citadel of learning, but when they came, they turned everything around to their favor and destroy all our effort. Second, they saw Africa as where they can come and establish their own business because we have all what it takes to start a very good business. We have the manpower, the natural resources, and they came and took our able young men and women, took them to their country to develop their own country. This just clearly said who developed them. Africans developed them because they took our able young men and women and our resources, developed their own country. If they have left this young men in Nigeria to defend and develop their country, we could have been super nation by now. And also our mental, even when our mental state of mind, we were not stable at that time. We were just asking for, seeking for freedom here and there. There is no a man in this state looking for freedom will think of developing his country because we don't even have the manpower, the resources again, because they took everything away from us from us to their country. Also, before they came in the Oyo Empire, there was already a parliamentary system of check and balance back then in the 680s. So this clearly shows that before they came, we are already civilized. In the Benin Empire, when the first European visited Nigeria, visited the Benin Kingdom, there was a bilateral relationship in culture, politics, and economy between them. And there was already exchange between Portugal and Benin at that time. We are already colonized even before they came. Furthermore, all what they brought in place was to their favor because they needed a language that will make their production and productivity flow. So they brought in their own language to us, their religion, and their own cultural beliefs, and they imposed it to us, and we foolishly fell for it because we are good people. We give everyone, we trust everyone with all our heart. If they have left us to ourselves, I bet you Africa could have been among the world's super nations. Furthermore, even before they came, we are already inventors and scientists because proof has shown that from the 4th, 11th century, we are already engaged in the production of gunpowders, the canis, and the compass. Also, how we are able to translate numbers into calendars and different things. This shows that we were already civilized at that time. If they've left us for ourselves, we could have done massive. And Lastly, we now understand the foundation of so many problems, our previous religious crisis, the ethnic crisis, and we need to take a stand now. We need to turn African around. We need to turn Africa around. It is probably said that Africa is 100 years behind development, while we are left 400 years in stagnation. Just imagine if that 400 years was used amicably, the reverse could have been the case. Africa could have been 400 years ahead of civilization. Oh my God, 400 years ahead of civilization. But here we are, we're 100 years behind development. I believe with the Green Century Code that we, the Super 37, are bringing up to Nigeria, it will be a template that other African countries will use to make their country a super nation. Oh Africa, the strongest and sweetest woman I've ever known, who gave so much pain, salted with pain and compassion just for the one she loved. Thank you very much. I'm Sharon Demide Stephens, the governor representing the good people of Kaduna State.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yes, may go. Kaduna State. Yes, it was different.
Okay.
Sounded different. Okay.
Okay.
Maybe common 400 years of
Slavery, Alexandria, slaves, the university, Benin Empire, the same. Yes, same. I think those are the things I picked from here. I've learned this.
The 100 and 400.
100 and 400, yes. Afternoon. Okay, can you see him by your right there?
You can see
Okay,
it's fine.
all right. Let's introduce yourself.
My name is Shababa Samanda, the Borno Governor of Kano State.
Okay, Kano State. Good. You have 5 minutes. 40 minutes will inform you. You have a minute to go. So that last minute you use it to round up. Your time starts now.
Before I take my stand today, I must define two things: colonization and civilization. Colonization is the imposition of foreign rules on other land. Civilization can be defined as the humanity rejection of primitive life, the ability of man to make his activities less tedious, less laborious, and more progressive. Standing boldly on the above two definitions, I dare to say that without colonization, most African countries would have become great nations, independent superpowers. I will show you why in 10 points. Where was Africa before colonization? Evidence of pre-existing civilization. Civilization in Egypt, Benin Kingdom, Nupe Kingdom, not culture. Our agriculture, our technology, our system of trade, our government, trans-Sahara trade, religion, art, culture, and science. Africa is said to be the cradle of civilization. Egypt, the birthplace of writing, mathematics, agri-mechanization. Evidence of pre-existing civilization is scattered all over Africa. Not culture, Benin bronze, cowries are medium of exchange, and well-established system of government. Agriculture. Africa lives beyond subsistence farming already before colonization. The pre-colonial era saw wide trading for agricultural resources. They had enough to buy. They witnessed commercial production. Technology, the Great Wall of Benin, Zaria, Ile-Ife, and the Pyramid of Egypt is an evidence that great technology existed before colonial era. However, it was impeded by colonialism. Our government, Africa revived and respected their leaders and showed these leaders and see these leaders as gods. From Benin Kingdom to the Zaria Emirate, Nupe Kingdom. However, colonialism disrupted this and imposed a system of government not understood till date. System of trade. The pre-colonialists made a perfect system of trade in Africa already. The trans-Sahara route was fully established. The great leather of Sokoto, the wonderful perfume in Kano was a major commodity. However, all these were disrupted by colonialism. Agricultural science and art. From lovely artwork of Dahomey to the Gold Coast of Ghana to the terracotta of Nube, bronze of Benin to the masquerade of Ebola, Africa had a complete world-class expression of art and culture. So the question is, how did colonization hamper African progress? 10 points clearly to show this. One, the pre-colonial existing from 1500 to 1800 BC saw the best of African citizens being taken
away for slavery, depopulating Africa to the colonial era between 1800 to 1960 saw a total disruption of all our systems: religion, government, agriculture, and culture. Following the industrialization, the mineral resources of Africa was taken out of the country. Following the production boom in Britain, all goods were produced and shipped all over the world, with Africa targeted as the dumping ground. Africa was practically used to build the economy land structure of Britain and the United States of America. The citizens lost respect for imposed leadership, and this is one of the major causes of political chaos and political anarchy in the most African countries. White supremacy made Africans lose its value for their religion, culture, food, and clothes, and make us depend heavily on foreign goods. New colonization, currency manipulation, imposing and pegging of their own currency into our own strong African currency. Lastly, we were forced to take a religion, a culture, a system of government we never understood. In summary, they did not just come to Africa to colonize us. They set up a money-making machine in Africa. They handed over Africa back to us, went back home. So far, we have been shipping our mineral resources willingly. We have allowed new colonialists to come and mine freely. We have sent our best doctors, engineers, artists, lawyers work for peanuts. Just imagine if, like the Chinese, Africa sold their continent until we are strong enough. What if we have our own? We wouldn't have been left so far behind. Truly, without colonization, most African countries would have been superpowered.
Thank you.
Thank you. May I take your leave?
Thank you.
Kano State. Thank you. Your points.
Nice.
Huh? Your points.
No. Fantastic speech.
Speech.
Speech is good. Honestly.
For his camera.
Yeah?
For his camera, he's taught us.
Yeah, he started. That's why he was.
For me, he really tried a lot.
Okay.
Okay, his cameras.
Yeah, that's why he was trying to.
He really tried.
Yeah, but it's okay. Even though it was a speech, he was still a bit into it.
Okay.
So how many more?
We don't have a timer.
How many more to go?
Yeah, I'm sure about 3 more people. Yes.
I hope my phone.
No, don't worry. I'm sure we'll get there. Yes,
I'm
please.
closer.
Okay.
It's all right.
My name is Ambassador Nuri Samson, the Liberal Governor, representing the good people of
Zamfara State. Okay.
Welcome.
You have 5 minutes. On the 4th minute, we'll inform you so that the last minute you use it to round up.
Thank you very much.
Your time starts now.
I'm here to make a presentation on this topic. Without colonialism, most African countries will have become a superpower, and I stand to say, yes, it is true. Let's start with the big nation. Colonialism is a ruling someone land for gain and otherwise colonization. Means directly or indirectly rule of foreign land, or being governed by a superior authority or a spare territory. Civilization is a term used to raise the standard of living, to easier and more organized processes that yield more efficiency. For a country to become a superpower, first of all, it has to consider an improvement capitalist as well as the sustainable development economy plan, that sustainable economic plan. Now, the Black American history and the Black African history will flow without any iota of doubt. When added to the ancient Egyptian history, that Africa has always stood a chance of becoming a superpower in an ancient time and in the present world. When this history put together, we will find out that what's wrong with Africa and why we are where we are today now. It is time that most African countries will have become a superpower without colonization. Our first part of call of Egyptian civilization, black skin, is a default state of an ancient Egyptian. This means that black African are directly or indirectly associated with the Egyptian ancient civilizations. The very first time that African culture and growing civilization was disrupted. The very first time that Americans were enslaved. This is to say that African country was organized and enough to build a civilization at the point with a better chance of becoming superpower in this if their psychology was not distracted and damaged. During the slave trade, 1712, that a man named Willie Lynch developed a theory of psychological control and slaves, mined by the erasing the history of the generation, make them to forget their past. So to speak and ensure that the psychology of the African race begin with its slave diaspora, they brought African itself was established in a new offspring without its historical background. Postcolonialism. The following are the slave mentality. Postcolonialism, disillusionment, supporting European games, movie is related inferiority complex. Their presence has drawn us to fail attempt to westernize and the modernize. Westernization, African confuses westernization for development impact. Westernization is the process to which Western nation, colonies, countries, or people are meant to adopt Western practice and culture. Such colonized nations believe that imbibing such culture of their land will help them to replicate the level of development attained by the Western nation. This obviously felt that from being superpower, I'm going to put that Chinese development is the proof development, it is not westernization. Before, there was an argument in the earlier mid-20th centuries was due to likely it is the culture built on the Confucian philosophy. The achievement it will not imbibing and fragile from the Western nation to copy their westernization. Modernization is another post-colonial understanding that next ex-colonies imbibed to colonize African centuries want everything to be modern. This, the so-called universal value and the attempt by the Western Europe to enforce its own standards as the model for their whole world to follow. In conclusion, with this, their strategies, they colonize us easily using our resources, leaving us with no direction. Our leaders lost direction, no sustainable development plan, and the continuity. I suggest that every nation has its unique culture and identity. Every society should develop its value and must copy our own. It's our own value will meet our existential challenges. Now, what is the way forward? I recommend all Nigerian and Africa to take responsibility. All present generation must know this, that the way forward, now that we are here, the 37 governors from 36 states, including FCT of the Federation, the Green Century Code, GCC, a 100-year development plan, direction and policies that will take Nigeria and Africa into the next level. Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right. Thank you very much. You may take your leave. Ada,
Pardon? Yeah.
what did you think?
I think it was a speech, and I didn't know if he was here or there. Yeah, I didn't.
Same?
I didn't get his point. Whether he was.
He was for true.
My name is Akin Shalati Toberiga, and I'm the neighboring governor for Christian States, the cradle of Yoruba land. And my pet project title is Osun Agro-Tourism Festival. Thank you.
My name is Dr. Cesar Bosibeta. I'm the Labour Room Governor for
Yes. And I am the founder of Abuja Tourist Marshals. You're welcome. Good to have you. My name is Actor Brian. I'm a Dakas. Labour Room Governor representing Adamawa State for the month of
with human slaves, human mineral resources, and mental power. Between the 1960s till today, Africa has still supply the world. But the problem wasn't with slavery. The problem was why Africa still supplied the world. Industrial revolution was going on. For 400 years, while Africa was supplying the world with slaves, we built their civilization, we gave them money, talking from the sugar plantation to the cotton plantation to the groundnut plantation, and Africa stood still. Africa stopped while the whole world moved from agricultural revolution to the next stage of human development, which was industrial revolution. And while they had moved, we were still at commercial level of agricultural production, producing what we export only. The next stage where the world moved into was from industrial revolution into technological revolution, which was between the 1800 and 1960, talking about the steam engine development, talking about the turbines, talking about conversion of coal. The world had moved forward while Africa was at the level of agriculture. And so I stand to tell you today, yes, of the truth, Africa would have become world power, would have become superpower without colonization. If civilization is defined as the cultivation of fields, minds, and ideas, and colonization is the imprisonment of fields, minds, and ideas, I'll strongly tell you that without colonization, Africa would have moved on. Now, why do I say Africa would have moved on? Where was Africa before colonization? I'll take a case study of Benin Empire. Adam Smith in 1776 wrote that when he met Benin Empire was said to be at par compared to England at that time. We had street lights powered by palm oil. We had one of the longest world network in Africa, and we had the development. The first contact British, the Western world had with Africa, and Nigeria especially, was in 1472, where the Portuguese first landed in Lagos. And after Lagos was named after a town in Portugal, Algarve. Now, did Western world meet Africa in caves? No. They met an Africa who was ready to trade. They met an Africa who found enough to encourage fierce competition amongst them. They met an Africa who had art, culture, the bronze of Benin, the North culture of Jos. Africa had everything. We had development, we had growth, we had a form of writing amongst the Igbo and the Ibibians, which was termed the Insipidi or the Insibira. Now, Africa was on the verge of civilization, becoming world power. And what happened was, by the 1960s, when most African countries gained independence, already African countries on this side, the Western world on this side, the Western world had gotten to that stage of development where we call service provision. And Africa was at agricultural state. Not just agricultural state, we were at subsistence farming. We were finding it difficult to move from subsistence farming to commercialization. And that is what happened to Africa. By the time they had let go, the Western world, the colonial master, had set up a money-making machine. In every African country they colonized, money-making machine was set. Africa was the source of human resources. Africa was the source of the market. Now we have the Western world, we have Africa. We have the Western world at service provision. They had conquered technology, they had conquered industrialization, and Africa was at agriculture. And then Africa served as a market. Also, I'm going to tell you how this colonization negatively affects. Following independence, Africa was far behind. We had over-dependency syndrome, westernization of culture, creation of enmity between the rulers and the ruled, introduction of a strange judicial system which we do not understand today, encouragement of uncritical adoption of Western values. We also had the problem of artificial boundaries, which up to today serve as boiling point. We also had greener pasture, what is called brain gain, currency manipulation of African countries, pollution of African countries. They brought things we were not able to manage. And lastly, the mental collapse. In summary, what is the way forward? How would Africa move on? I'll tell you that Africa is not too late. We are at our agricultural stage. We have further steps to make from agricultural revolution to our industrial step. We will make that step. To technological step, we will make that step and we will get to technology. Just what we're doing in the labor room is called the green code. Now, green code is not just green code on its own. Thank you.
No, calm down. I said
calm down.
The
Okay,
green century code.
Oh,
time was up.
The green century code is not just aggregation of ideas. We want to be able to move from agricultural stage to industrial stage.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Edu. All right.
Thank you.
All right.
Well, I like his passion.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's
Still the same point.
burning right from
You know,
the
he
soul.
felt what he was saying.
Yes.
And believe me, even if they were repeating what others were saying, I like those people that came, like spoke from their heart without actually having to read
Yes.
it. He didn't even have a cue sheet or anything.
Yes.
So I commend that really.
Mr. Sam?
Yeah, he was, I like his appearance,
yeah.
how he took over his space. And despite the distraction at the end, he still wanted to see more.
Yes. And he really started summarizing at the end, you know, just he started hitting, and it was okay.
Yes.
Wow.
I am Jean DK, the governor representing River State, treasure-based organization.
Hello. Hello. What? River State?
Yes.
Okay.
The treasure-based organization.
Yeah. You have 5 minutes. The 4th minute will indicate by showing you the timer. The last minute you use it to round up. Your time starts now.
Without colonization, most African countries would have become superpowers. True or false? I say true. Permit me to define colonization. Colonization is the possession of direct and indirect rule of foreign lands, ruling someone for gain or selfish interests. Also permit me to define superpowers. Superpower, a country or a group of countries that believe they have a high level of civilization and sophistication to be able to exercise control over other countries. From the foregoing definition, my conscience aligns with the first proposition, which is true. That is to say, that most African countries will have become superpowers without civilization. Why do I say this? Let's take an example from the Nile Basin civilization. First of all, the Nile Basin civilization, known for its great innovation, we have the what we call the CBT writing. It's an African inscriptions. It's mainly used by the cultists. They were mainly used by the cultists. They were used to communicate. Also, we have the settlement. Further contributions to an improved system of life, agriculture, and social organization. We have numbers. It defined the use of numerals, calendar, astronomy, and astrology. We have architecture. Egyptian pyramid was done by Egyptians. Imagine them being great architectures at that time. They had medicines. They had their drugs made from plants, which was effective. A white man cannot come and make drugs for us. Why do we still have malaria? Africans, we have malaria here. We are to know the kind of drugs that we need for our kind of sickness. They've been giving us drugs, but we just have preventives. Has it cured us for life? No. In 1720, a man known as William Lynch, he came with a discovery that can disable an African man. The African man was broken. The African man was shattered. His history was taken away from him. How do you expect a man without a history to walk? How do you expect a man without his history to do his daily activities? He was broken. There was nothing left for him. What was left was the history of the white man. The white man brought modernization and westernization for him to emulate, to meet up his standard. How do you expect a black man to eat with fork and knife all the time, when most times we eat with our hands, we swallow? China proved them wrong by using their chopsticks, except maybe there are other delicacies that use spoon. What I'm trying to say now, Africa, if we were given the opportunity, if we're not colonized, we will have been superpowers in 100 years, in 500 years. We can even rule the world. Because Africa, they have everything. Fashion, look at the way I'm dressed. There's nothing English in me. I am well dressed. I'm representing River State. A Calabari woman, dressed as an Ibia woman also, well pampered. We are beautiful. There's nothing we cannot do. So with my few points, I hope it's powerful enough to tell you that without colonization, Africa is powerful. Africa has a strength. We just have to believe in ourselves. We just have to go from the grassroots and believe in ourselves. My name is Jane DK, the Governor representing River State. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay. Rivers.
I think she had some stage fright or something. blacked out at some point. And I think she had some points, but she didn't really land the punches very well.
Yes. She had the voice.
In this great nation of ours, the girl child, from the womb to the tomb, is most times unrecognized, marginalized, subjugated, relegated, and most times not educated. But you, as the now of Nigeria, can do something about it. The greatest aspect, or let's say the greatest issue that can cause conflict.
Lebanon Governor for Borno State.
Borno State.
Nice, Jonathan.
Okay. So you are the governor representing Borno State. You are the last person. So, and you have 5 minutes. The 4th minute we will inform you, so that the last minute.
We'll show you the time, but nobody's going to interrupt you.
Yes.
So don't get distracted with that.
So the last minute we now use it to round up. Your time starts now.
Colonization has been viewed by many as a planned, deliberate effort for exploitation of Africa by the Western world. But I see that plan as a fireback for the development and growth of Africa. With that, I take a stand that without colonialism, most African countries will never, not in time past, nor in time to come, become superpowers. According to history, the African man is naturally hostile, always aggressive, and always at the lookout to defend himself and turn his prey into food. That's why history said that most of the white people, or the Westerners, when they came, Africans used them as food, thinking they were yellow monkeys. But that didn't stop the Westerners from coming. They came over and over until they taught the African man how to relate and communicate with them. And with that, I would say that colonization taught Africa the basics of human relation. Secondly, civilization. Yes, Egypt is the cradle of civilization in the whole world. But I must say that Africa felt little or no impact of that civilization until the coming of the colonial masters. Yeah, they talk about slavery. With my little knowledge of religious history, Egypt was one of the greatest promoters of slavery, and Egypt is African. That means even the Westerners learned slave trade from Africa. They said that the first university in the whole world began in Egypt. Philosophy started in Egypt. But how many non-Egyptian Africans had or felt the influence of the formal education in Egypt? How many non-Egyptian Africans felt the impact of the philosophy that came out from Egypt? We only had that when colonization came. Talking about our fetish, hazardous beliefs in Africa, the killing of twins, the fighting of wars, the sacrifice of humans to deities. People say that colonialism taught Africa to hate and fight themselves. The last I checked, all an African king cares about is to kill the neighboring king, take over his kingdom, and occupy his territory. Through colonialism, we learn to love ourselves. Practically in Nigeria, the amalgamation of the northern and the southern protectorates. Before colonialism, we were on our own. But today, we celebrate our diversity as our strength through colonialism. And today, we're the largest black population on earth. And we're maximizing that for our economic potentials. Our celebrated African economy. The African man is I and myself, with my family, small-scale family, but through colonialism, we learned to farm in large scale. That's why we would have to feed ourselves and sell to the colonial masters. Through colonialism, we were able to discover our mineral resources. The crude oil we celebrate and we shout about in Nigeria today was discovered by the British. It was not an African man that discovered crude oil. And most of it can go on and on and on. With this, I would say that the problem of Africa has nothing to do with colonialism. It's our own problem. Colonialism is supposed to give us an edge over the Western world, because imagine we have double of everything. They taught us their politics, they taught us their religion, they taught us their language, they taught us everything, and we had our own. What if we merged the two together? Would have been stronger. And I would say that I am Nigerian, I am African. I'm proud and happy to have been colonized by the British, but that does not make me English. It only gave me an avenue, opportunity to discover myself, explore my environment, and build my world. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Borno State, thank you very much.
We still have a few more seconds, but if you think
Okay, thank you. Yeah.
Wow, she did well.
Oh, that it's always in the top, is it the end?
The icing on the cake.
Ever
And say if a girl is married before the age of 18, the hip to carry a child, because in marriage there will be sex, and one of the outcomes of sexual intercourse is conception, and one of the consequences or what we pray for in conception is that this is a labor room, that we will go through those pangs, birth pangs, and at the end we will do what? Rejoice. But when a girl biologically is not ready, let me put on my doctor's hat. What happens is that the outlet for the baby's head is not large enough. When it is not large enough, the labor is prolonged. Keyword, prolonged. The mother is then at risk. The baby is at risk. And if after that prolonged labor, mother and child survive, you may in all likelihood have health consequences for the mother. You and I, when we need to go to the bathroom, know that we have been created to be able to wee, and we have been created to be able to poo. But a woman who has undergone prolonged labor may end up issues where the intervening parts, and I'm trying to break it down and not use medical terms, there's a breach, and therefore she does not or is not able, because she cannot control the whole, all the tissues there are broken down, and that she is peeing on herself all the time. And then what happens to the gentleman who has now married her at the age of 16? He is the one that stays with her what the psycho-vaginal fistula is. The woman would be leaking. She's then stigmatized, she's ostracized, and that lovely young bride now has to face these health issues. That is just one out of the several issues that a young girl can experience. Let's look at some other issues. What happens when a young girl has not been given the opportunity to enjoy a full education because she has had to go and hawk to bring in resources for the family? Again, her education is truncated, if she had any education at all. She's exposed to certain issues on the streets by virtue of hawking. Yes? Now, I've just given two instances. One regarding early marriage and the health, the deleterious effects on the side of health. We've touched slightly on education. But what do you think will happen to this girl child as the future of Nigeria and an integral part of the 100-year development plan for Nigeria? What do you think can happen? Let's have some input, yes.
Think of the key word, what His Excellency Mohammed Simmons solution. I'm sure if you have allowed Mr. Oyewole to have told you about ports, I'm sure later you will think about ports. They are part of the solution. This mansion is a solution-driven mansion. One of the golden eras in this mansion was when a woman led us. So we are living by example. She led us and men were part and parcel of our solution. This was the thing we wanted to show you. In this mansion, that the woman can. So we prepared by saying this, that the woman can. And I'm sure whatever it is that happened during that golden era, will be captured in that section.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much for so far. I've happened to work on a project on gender equality with the UN some years ago, and we actually use some countries as a case study. One of the countries is India, which has the highest rate of gender inequality. They have the very high population and also the highest level of rape in the whole world for the country. The country has actually, so it has been proven that in countries where the woman and the man is engaged in economic activity, the level of poverty becomes low because of the fact that it will be like a dual income family where the woman is also engaged, whether it's a small business or a big business, and the man is also engaged. And it has also been proven that it also creates a more competitive and healthy family as well. So I would say that the impact of early marriage is actually putting some women in the family way and putting a very big burden and responsibility on them on time, which will put them in a position whereby they cannot be able to fulfill or achieve their full potential.
Thank you very much. You raised the economic, please sit down, the economic angle of a woman alongside the man who is economically empowered. And that is a very important point, that a woman who is earning alongside her husband, if she is married, because remember that you may have a man who is single, you may have a woman who chooses to be single, but in this partnership of man and woman, the advantages of a dual income far outweigh the disadvantages. But I have to sound a note of caution that sadly, there are families where when the woman is earning, sometimes she's even earning more than the man. And some men go back to culture to say a woman is not supposed to provide. When she becomes economically empowered, sometimes she suffers violence in the home because she is bringing in some resources. But that can change. If it is seen as a partnership as opposed to competition, as long as the wonderful young men who will be fathers in the future by choice see their wives in a partnership as opposed to seeing their wives as maybe just farm hands and bringing the money, to hand over to the man to determine how it should be spent, but see that partnership. The man earns, the woman earns, they put their resources together. It will mean better living standards. It'll mean better health care. It'll mean better education for their children. As opposed to feeling that a woman should not earn, or that if she works on the farm and harvests, that all the harvest proceeds should go to a middle person, and at the end of the day, the financial proceeds don't come to her. One of the things I speak about a lot and shout at the top of my lungs is I say to those who are bringing different types of economic empowerment initiatives, I say, please, don't speak to the men and say medium and large scale industries, and then go to the women and say microcredit. Because you give the women the microcredit, then you tell them to make candles, mats, soap, air freshener, which will be standing there in the sun, not sold. Whereas the men have been given, the medium and large scale, and then the woman goes and she can turn things around alongside the men, but the bank will say to her, go and bring your husband, or go and bring your son, or where is your land? So it's for us to begin to internalize that men are a beautiful and wonderful creation of God. And that women are also a beautiful and wonderful creation of God. And that if we can make available equal opportunities, and every time I say the word opportunity, following very closely, I use the word responsibility. For as much as we talk about people getting opportunities, we also want them to be equally responsible. Any other insights? Somebody had their hand up. Yes. Then
my hand is also.
Thank you very much. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay.
Yes, mine is more like insight on the question.
Yes.
There's a misconception about feminism in Nigeria.
Yes.
A lot of women don't really understand the term feminism. They see it as an outburst to overtake the men. Yes, there are sometimes 15 years ago when my auntie got married, and I overheard them calling her that she was getting married too late at the age of 29 to 26. That she was on a list amongst the 9 girls who decided that mom's family to get married. And most of them got married at the age of 19 and 20. So out of curiosity, I asked, why are they supposed to get married that early? And the men were like, because we don't want pressure, and that women are supposed to be submissive to men, they're not supposed to do anything, they're not supposed to overboard at the end, and they should do the micro kind of jobs like we explained. And they really got me thinking. And as I grew up, I came to understand that it's actually the term feminism that they didn't really get the idea that women and men is all about equity and not about equality to take over their own rights. So what do you think? How should we change that ideology so that the men can fix like the home state governor earlier said that yes, we try to pass the message for a woman to grow in here. And I don't think that's even enough by being in power, because in as much as a woman is in power, there's still some elements of men who feel it's just the figurehead and it doesn't really make a difference. How do we make that difference for them to understand the term feminism? To me, feminism is equity and not an overturning of the male people.
My advice usually is for us not to dwell on semantics. Why do I say that? In the fast-moving world that we live in, definitions are just constantly changing all the time. But rather to dwell on the essence and meaning. So even that word equity is evolving. But once you know, so for example, if I came in, there are 37 of you, if I came in with 32 copies of this book, 5 people would be left out. And we can't expect those 5 people to be happy. So it means that we need to ensure that opportunities are equally available. And that is why women all over the world are having to play catch up. And yet, some of you in your presentations today referred to history. Even some of the historians have tried to rewrite history. But when you look, there, even in Nigeria, you have the Queen Aminas of this world, who led troops, armies. In the sad situation that we're coming out of in the northeast with the issues around Boko Haram, I'm sure some of you read about one of the female hunters. Yeah. This is a lady who was going out with her gun and hunting wild animals. She knew the forest like the back of her hand. And therefore, when the troops came, she was able in that same manner because she knew the terrain. And she was brought on board as a useful ally. So going back to your question, it's that mindset. And I believe that is why the producers invited me here today, because you all have a hugely crucial role to play as the now of Nigeria. Now, if you don't get it right, then we're in trouble. This document that you are going to be coming out with, in fact, I think I'm even, not giving it its due by calling it a document. It's a roadmap. It says development plan. So that you have been given this unique opportunity. I hope you really understand what opportunity you have.
Yeah.
A unique opportunity for generations to come. That young people like yourselves sat in a house for 2 months or more to reflect on where generations before you, myself included, missed it, and how you can bring that solution and document it. It's so important. And I want to be able to see that in this document, was it yesterday? I was looking at a government document and it said, so and so, he shall do this. And when he is in office, it was as if women did not exist in Nigeria. So I want you to be able in your document to show that men exist, women exist, that men can achieve their highest potential, that women can achieve the highest potential. Let there be that respect and dignity. It's like people say to me, that girl was raped because she was exposing herself. And I say to them, excuse me, my great-grandmother and your great-great-grandmother was dressed, some of them in jigida, and some of them not too long ago. I don't want to mention the part of Nigeria. Go and check what they were dressed in. There was a rope and some leaves. Now, were they constantly being raped?
No.
So, it's the mindset.
Exactly.
I preached to I have 2 boys and 2 girls, and I preached to my sons, please, it is about zipping up and control. A recent program I was on looking at violence against women and girls, and in one state in particular, the defilement was amongst children below the age of 5. Are you going to tell me that because they were not covered up? So what is it that's going to appear in this book to protect? I have 3 young granddaughters today, and I would be ready to defend them with everything. So, the mindset, it is not about a woman being asked, so what were you wearing? What was the dignity and respect accorded to that girl, that woman? Sorry. Number 2, then 3, 4, yes.
Okay, Mom, my own is more or less an addition to what you said. And I'm telling you, I'm so blessed from your teaching. One of us here was...
Our conversation.
Okay. Actually, there was one of us here that is always, he has an NGO that promotes this cause. And behind the scene, I was like, what concern a man with the woman problem before God and man? But with this information you gave to us, I cannot see where it's coming from. And that brought me to information is key. And information process. Believe you me, most of us, they are hearing the cause or the way it's come for the first time. So information to the right channel, in the right way, in language, play, and every way people can hear it. Some don't know it. Some are misconception. Not like it first told us. We thought it was early marriage. But no, we knew that it was early marriage that leads to long labor that can cause it. Which if we don't have the in-depth of information, we may not know what we are really tackling. And when information is not passed to the right people or in the right way, we may not know how to solve the problem. So out here, we need to campaign and inform people in a language they will understand. Okay.
Excellently put. Inform the people in a language they will understand. As a doctor, I could have come here and decided to mesmerize you with medical words. But breaking things down so that we can, every single one of us can understand. Excellent. So I hope you are taking down these solutions because you are coming up with the solutions yourself. And that is the exciting part.
Ma, this topic is actually very overwhelming for me because if you look different generations, there are certain things that have not changed. We are here in this mansion, but people forget that we are first human beings before we are either male or female. You talk about any position of relevance, and the first thing somebody thinks is it's supposed to be a male responsibility. We are just supposed to support. I'm not here to fight for women's rights or anything, but I'm standing and the other day I had to ask a question. I said, aren't we all governors of our state? Aren't we all responsible for people behind us? Aren't we sharing the burden of responsibility and having the same expectations upon our lives to deliver? Then why is it that if a chairman is supposed to be elected here, my fellow women cannot rally behind me just because they feel a male is more qualified than a female? And you know, for me it's very heartbroken because my grandmother, Chief Dr. Mrs. Elizabeth Ivase, she was the first female in this country to be a commissioner, the first female in this country to be a minister under Shagari's regime, Minister of State for Education. She's still alive, she's 81. And she keeps telling me when in 1957, as a 19-year-old, she came forth proposing under Willing's Minority Commission that let women be given the right to vote and voted for. They asked for her head. She had to go into hiding. And she, during the Beijing Women's Conference in 1996, in 95, yes, she raised the topic of the fact that in the penal code of the Nigerian constitution, there is a clause there that enables Nigerian men to beat up their women. Yes, it was taken note of, but nothing was done about it. Two things are on my mind, and I will take it personally, even if that is going to be my only contribution to the Green Century Code. We have to change the paradigms. There has to be a paradigm shift through education. We have to inculcate it let our boys and our girls sit down in the classrooms. Even if at home, culture, custom, tradition would downplay the importance of the human being. Let in the classrooms, let us hear something differently. Let it be known that you are the same demand and expectation is put upon you to deliver before anyone remembers that you are a male or a female. Come out, the men will see the women first of all and define them by their humanity, not based on their gender. And then the women will also not look down on themselves and look down on their fellow women. Because my grandma is alive now, but the greatest challenge she has faced over the years from that 1957 till now, that I am also seeing even in this mansion we are all guilty of, is the fact that women don't believe they are good enough. Men also don't believe the woman is good enough. The woman cannot support the female. She rather supports the male. We all need a paradigm shift. So thank you very much. Oh, sorry. I forgot. Yeah, I forgot about one more thing. Policy. Education paradigm shift, yes, but policy. Whether we like it or not, there are certain laws in the constitution of this country that need to be amended. I believe that if we, the 37, can come together and say, for instance, that clause in the penal code that women should be beaten is taken out, and then implementation of policies. So we have to go back, review the constitution. We have to make policies that are friendly, especially to the girl child, knowing that she's already naturally at a disadvantage. Her father, if he doesn't have enough school fees, will pay for the meal and not pay for her. So if we're saying SDGs, education for all, if to one male there are going to be 3 females having education, it's not because of favoritism, it's because of the fact that she's already a minority, in quote, even if she's not. So policy, education, and then implementation of these policies. Thank you.
Passionately spoken. How wonderful that you have your grandmother's blood running in your veins. And the apple doesn't fall far from the apple tree. Can you imagine yourselves as parents in the very near future and sowing the sorts of seeds that were sown by her grandmother? But more importantly, in legislating it, in writing, in the Green Century Code. And, you made a point about leadership. We have elected leadership and we have appointed leadership. And a very profound statement you made is about seeing ourselves first as human, right? A few hours ago, we were all hungry. We all needed food. Okay? And yet, we've inched away, for example, from certain food taboos. In Nigeria, there was a time when certain parts of meat could not be eaten by a woman. Only the men enjoyed some choice pieces. But things are, they're shifting slightly, aren't they? Yes. Things are changing. But then there are the really, I worked on widows' rights. I've been doing that for over 27 years now. And we moved from a time where a man died, notwithstanding the fact that he was 90 and the woman was 20, and the woman was blamed for his death. Then the woman had to drink the water in which his corpse had been washed. Then the woman had to lie in state, she being alive and he being dead, lying in state with the man. Then the woman had to sit on the floor. Then she couldn't eat for varying periods of time. Then she couldn't go out. But the man lost his wife and they said, oh, how very lonely he must be. let's get him some young girls to keep him company at night. So, we're coming out of that. There are still the awful practices still prevalent today where there is disinheritance. There are parts of Nigeria up until today, the 18th of October 2017, where a woman loses her husband and people will come and take away the house that she contributed to, take away the car, and it'll go to the next surviving male. We need to be able to change that. Lastly, on the points that you made about policy, for 14 years, I participated alongside men and women, and I stress men and women, men who would speak as passionately as some of you in this room for women, just to have that sense of humanity. Somebody the other day, in fact, Buki Shonibari has a magazine she's calling Womanity. Just for sheer humanity. We're supporting for 14 years something that started in the year 2002 as the Violence Against Women's Bill. It was in Parliament, but the Parliament had mostly men, and they didn't like the name Violence Against Women. So it transformed to Violence Against Persons. Fair enough. But it was in the National Assembly for 14 years. Eventually in 2015, the Violence Against Persons Prohibition Bill was passed and signed by immediate past President Jonathan, I think 2 or 3 days before he left office. But guess what? For all the good in the world, that act is only applicable to the Federal Capital Territory. So after 14 years of being in the trenches, because we will get to, you need 3 readings and then it's adopted, we will go to second reading, just trying to get to third reading, a new parliament, our 4-year cycle will finish, we will start from the beginning. So beautiful law has been signed, but it's only applicable in FCT. What does that mean? It means that every single one of you, your excellencies, governors of the 36 states, assisted by FCT, part of what you should be looking at is how to domesticate the VAP, or Violence Against Persons Prohibition Act, in your individual states. You can be that ambassador. You can be that champion. It is something that would be groundbreaking if you determine in your hearts that that is what you're going to do in your individual states. You can be that ambassador or that champion. Sorry.
Once again, my name is Ali Bode Yusuf. I must take this time to, 1, commend my governor, Governor Ambode. He has taken it upon himself to, 1, create a phone number for violence against anyone, especially women. In my state, it's ongoing right now. There are special numbers for it. Even if it's not the person that's committed it, even if it's your neighbor, you operate something on, see something, say something, make sure you report. And if the police don't take care of the case, they have already made offices that they've created that is going to work on the case, and they are going to follow it up from the beginning till the end. And if any violence is incurred, they are going to make sure they take care of the victim. And it's ongoing in my state. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that important information. Indeed, Lagos State is leading. They have these hotlines, exactly as you said. They have a sexual assault referral center where, the police, so it's not this thing where, a girl goes to report to the police, they'll say, no, it's a family matter. There is the incentive to report because they know that the case will be attended to. Remember that by and large what happens with a young girl who is raped is she may run to her mother. The mother said, keep quiet, you may not get a husband if you tell them. So there's stigma. Then by the time you go to a police station and they tell you to go and buy foolscap sheets to report your case, and then they ask you what you are wearing. And then you get to the court and they say, bring evidence. So, thank you for sharing that best practice with us. Thank you.
Thank you very much, ma'am. It was enlightening. And I just want to add an enlightenment to it. Just like we're asking for that woman in the streets, sees this thing, what would be her expectation? It gives her hope, a ray of light. Some people, I belong to Female in Nigeria Facebook page, Fee, I see you, yes, I belong there, and then every blessed day, you see females in Nigeria voicing out their problem, how they feel, what they go through, on how they are being molested and so many things, and some hold it, and it affects their productivity in life and so many things. Now, this thing it really gives them a ray of hope that there is something coming. Some people have no reason to live again, but such kind of thing give them a reason to be willing to live, to see it being accomplished. Going down to history like we did today in our presentation, the Ashanti Empire had a standing army, a reserve army, which half of it are women called the Amazons. So back down in history, women have also made impact. But I don't know where the culture gets distorted along the way. But seriously, we have to be enlightened. The men feel we just come out to speak for women because we always give women priority over men. But it's not true. They have gone through a lot because there's this natural mindset that women are not up to it. And we end up believing. Even a time came, we're speaking in this mansion, and a man was like, he hated when he see a woman strong. He prefer a vulnerable woman. Such kind of mindset is affecting us. So we have to change our mindset about what women are. Thank you very much.
Thank you. You used the key word there about distorting. There's a way narratives can get distorted, along the line. To say, either the women are not strong or they're incapable. Unfortunately, there was, out of a very bad situation in Rwanda, something good, came up. By the time they needed to rebuild Rwanda, and women started laying tiles, quite a lot of the men sadly had died. But they were the ones fixing roofs, laying tiles, doing the POP, and they discovered that, tiles could be laid beautifully by women. And then, by the time you need to pick up your phone or you're looking for a tiler, you're looking for a mechanic, and a woman could fix your car just as good as your male mechanic. Now people are beginning to understand that indeed, this thing about we are first of all humans, to borrow your very apt way of putting it, before we are male or female.
Yes.
Thank you for that. You please, and then I'll come to you. We'll soon, I'm conscious of your time.
Let's little bit controversial. Now, from genital mutilation to early child marriage to early pregnancy, widows' rights, and bad traditional practices like women power, marking.
What is that, please? Could you translate, please?
It's a form of managing women who just give birth in the northern part of the country, hot baths, and then consumption of potash powder.
Right.
Now, in educating the people, there's a mistake that sometimes we make. We gather the males and educate them.
Yes.
And sometimes the males are like, they don't even have an idea of what we are talking about. Making a statement that most times this is women against women. Take for example, widows' rights in most places. We used to practice widows' rights. The people that carry out these widows' rights are women. So female circumcision are women. Sometimes the male might have made the laws or the policies, but the women implement them. Going into villages, the women carry out these practices. So if I'm going to make a contribution, part of educating the people will be targeting the education of women. Thank you.
Excellent point. You know, just before you spoke, I also spoke about a distortion of the narrative. You are absolutely correct to say that in some of the practices, I've told you for over 25 years, I've worked on widows' rights. And in the southeast of the country where these rights are more prevalent, not that they are, only prevalent in the southeast, they are more prevalent, they are actually implemented by a group of women called daughters of the lineage, Umuada or Umuobu. But here is something for you to know. You equally said the men put in place what? The laws and the policies. So how are we going to say we stand by the law or we stand by policy? We must implement policy. So it's going back, as you said, to those who instituted the law and making sure that it is a holistic approach. Look at the custodians of the law. Tell me, when you go into a community, invariably, who is the custodian of the law? Which sector of the community is the custodian of the law in our little communities? The elders? The elders? Traditional? And who else?
The men.
Traditional leaders. Thank you. Who said that? Thank you. So, the key custodians of culture, which has become merged in some cases with religion, are our religious and traditional leaders, of whom the vast majority, let's look at what sex they belong to, are male. So they institute this policy. It is law. And sadly, you have these groupings of women exactly. Widowhood rights. Not all female genital mutilation. Some of those who, are cutters are male who mutilate. So then there's this narrative that says women are their worst enemies. But when two men have a disagreement, they say, macho, he showed the other one pep. They don't say men are their worst enemies because it's as if men are supposed to argue and fight all the time. So it's a narrative that's being perpetrated and sold. And I can tell you that anybody who remains silent when they see something happening is every inch as guilty. So silent acquiescence is a phenomenon that should be recognized, documented, and the solution found for silent acquiescence. Yes, you've had your hand up for a long time.
Less than 5 minutes.
5 minutes? Ooh, no.
So an interaction, I want to correct what my sister said.
Yeah.
I'm a lay practitioner. I actually live in the house. I'm very passionate about things that have to do with the law of the Republic of Nigeria. We don't have anything, any provision concerning a man having the right to beat his wife. We don't have anything like that. The penal code has to do with the northern part of Nigeria. The criminal code has to do with the southern part of Nigeria.
Right.
And then the Constitution of Nigeria 1999 has amended, which provides that everybody has a right to their body, the right to their life. So it is the ground norm of Nigeria. So it covers every other thing that has to do with social assaults and that. So I have to be rich that thing. Question.
Thank you very much for that.
I'm passionate.
95.
95 Beijing, before the American
I just have to check.
correct.
I'm passionate about the boy child also. Yes, ma'am. Because most of the time, okay, let me quickly chip in this imagery. Imagine two children, toddlers, they're crying and they run to their parents. The girl child runs to another. Mommy, I fell down. And the mother goes, oh, sorry, my princess, sorry. And then she wipes up her tears. The boy goes to the father, Daddy, come on, be a man, come on, be a man, show that you're a man, stop crying. And this goes into the psychological, it goes into the psyche of the boy child that, okay, he's a man, he's supposed to cry. God forbid that our excellencies who are men can cry. It immediately goes into our head, oh my God, he's a man and he's crying, he's so weak. So I think it also boils down to the family system. I think a family should have a family value system, such that every day, if possible, the father and the mother, they are teaching the children, I'm human, I respect my brother, I respect my sister, I'm not going to eat a woman, I'm a woman, I'm not going to fight a man. Every day we teach these things to our children, because the more we teach our females, like imagine you're teaching them.
And your point has been taken. I think that's a brilliant, absolutely sit down. That's an absolutely brilliant point on which to end. You have almost made my closing statements for me. We recently did a study on masculinities, and it's all about responsible parenting. The first school before a child steps out of the home is the home. So I told you I have two sons, two boys, 2 girls. My sons, by the age of 10, 11, I had taught them how to cook and bake. My second son in particular, when he's cooking his stew, my goodness. And some of the best cooks are men.
Yes.
But going back to the masculinity study, we were looking at the various things that make men want to be violent. There are men who the pressure is so much on them. And I would please like to thank you, first of all, for letting us know what the current penal code says. But secondly, please like to correct you that God forbid that our excellencies cry. We're all human. There are things that might make us cry. We're all human. If we have a little cut, whatever type of accident, we will bleed. All right? So by the time you're telling men that they cannot cry, they will look for other avenues to express their anger, distrust. So we need not to